I am just a chronicler and welcome you to another video. Since I know many of you watch to relax and fall asleep, I thought it would be nice if you left a comment telling me where you're listening from and if it's raining there. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the episodes. Now, it's time to get comfortable, relax, and begin. The first time I saw him was on a Tuesday, 3:27 a.m. exactly. The numbers on the register burned bright red in the fluorescent light. I remember because I'd just finished restocking the coffee filters, and my hands still smelled like paper and dust. He walked in wearing a brown jacket and jeans. Nothing special. Dark hair, maybe early 30s, average height, average build. The kind of face you forget as soon as you look away. He didn't say hello, didn't even look at me. Just walked straight to aisle 3, picked up a Red Bull, a pack of Marlboro Reds, and a banana. Paid in cash. Exact change. I didn't think anything of it at the time. Working the night shift at Quick Stop, you get all types. The drunks stumbling home from bars. Truckers filling up on coffee and sugar. Sometimes kids trying to buy beer with fake IDs. But most people, they come in once and you never see them again. But he came back the next night, 3:27 a.m. Same items, same exact change. Still didn't speak. That's when I noticed his hair was different. Before, it was dark brown, cut short. Now, it was black, slightly longer. I figured maybe he'd dyed it, or I remembered wrong. The lights in here play tricks sometimes, especially when you're running on energy drinks and 4 hours of sleep. The third night, I was ready. I watched the clock tick over to 3:27. The bell above the door chimed. There he was, brown jacket, jeans. But now his hair was lighter, and something about his walk seemed off. The night before, he'd moved quickly, purposefully. Now his steps were slower, dragging slightly. I grabbed my phone and took a picture while he was in aisle 3, just to prove to myself I wasn't imagining things. By the end of the week, I had 7 photos. Same time, same clothes, same items, but in each one, he looked different. His height changed, his build shifted. His face remained frustratingly average, but never quite the same. I started keeping a log on my phone. Tuesday, dark hair, 5 feet 10, walks quickly. Wednesday, black hair, 5'10", walks quickly. Thursday, light brown hair, 5'10", walks slowly. Friday, dark brown hair, 5 feet 11, slight limp. Saturday, black hair, 5'10", walks stiffly. Sunday, brown hair, 6'0", walks normally. Monday, dark hair, 5 feet 10, shuffling gait. The store manager, Dave, worked Mondays. I showed him the pictures. Yeah, different guys, he said, barely glancing at them. We get regulars. Military base nearby. They all shop at the same time. Same habits. But I knew he was wrong. The jacket was identical in every photo. Same worn spot on the right elbow. Same missing button on the cuff. And they all paid with exactly $12.47 in crumpled bills and coins. I started taking more pictures, close-ups of his hands when he paid, his shoes as he walked, the way his jacket hung on his frame. I taped them to the wall of the break room, connecting them with red string like some conspiracy theorist. Dave took them down twice. I put them back up. Eventually, he gave up. Week 2, things got worse. The changes became more noticeable. One night his skin was pale as paper. The next, tanned like he'd spent weeks in the sun. His eyes changed color. Green to brown, to blue to gray. But always that same blank expression. Never speaking, never looking at me. I started dreading 3:27. My hands would shake as the time approached, but I couldn't look away. Couldn't switch shifts. I had to know. Week 3, I installed a camera app on my phone that took pictures automatically every few seconds. I set it up behind the counter, pointing at aisle 3. The photos showed nothing, just empty space where I knew he'd been standing. But the security footage caught him, sort of. Just a blur of brown jacket and average features, distorted like a bad TV signal. I printed those too, added them to my wall. The images covered half the break room now. Dave stopped coming in there altogether. Week 4, I decided to confront him. I prepared a speech, practiced it during the dead hours between midnight and 3 a.m., wrote down questions I needed answered. 3:27 a.m., the bell chimed. My mouth went dry. My hands gripped the counter so hard my knuckles turned white. He walked in, brown jacket, jeans, but his face, I couldn't focus on it. Like trying to look at a word that keeps shifting on the page. "Stop," I said, my voice cracking. "I need to talk to you." He paused, just for a second, then walked to aisle 3. I came out from behind the counter. My legs felt weak, disconnected. "Who are you? Why do you keep coming here? Red Bull? Marlboro? Reds? Banana?" He turned toward the counter. I stepped in his way. "Look at me," he did. I wish he hadn't. His face, it wasn't changing. It was all the faces at once, layered over each other like transparent sheets. Male, female, young, old. Every ethnicity, every feature blending and shifting and writhing under the skin. I stumbled backward, hit the magazine rack. Tabloids scattered across the floor. He walked past me to the counter, laid down $12.47 in exact change. I ran to the break room, grabbed my phone, pulled up the wall of photos with shaking hands. Every image showed a different person. Not subtle changes anymore. Completely different people. Different clothes, different times of day. I ran back out front. He was gone. The security camera footage from that night shows me talking to an empty store. The register recorded no sale at 3:27 a.m. But there's a Red Bull missing from aisle 3. A pack of Marlboro Reds gone from behind the counter. And a single banana peel in the trash. I quit the next day. It's been 3 years. I work days now at a busy supermarket across town. Normal hours. Normal customers. But sometimes, when I'm stocking shelves or checking out groceries, I'll catch a glimpse of a brown jacket. Average height, average build, and I'll check the time. It's always 3:27. I don't look at their face anymore. I don't want to know if they're looking back. Last week, I found an old phone in a box while moving apartments. Opened the photos out of curiosity. All those pictures I took during those 4 weeks. They're still there. But they're different now. Every single one shows me. Standing behind the counter, walking the aisles, stocking shelves. In each photo, I look slightly different. My hair, my height, my walk. I deleted the photos, threw the phone away. But this morning, I checked my current phone. There's a new photo in my gallery. It was taken at 3:27 a.m. In it, I'm standing in my bedroom, sleeping. I'm wearing a brown jacket. I haven't owned a brown jacket in years. Tonight, I'm staying awake until 3:27. I've covered all the mirrors, blocked the cameras on my phones and laptop, but I can hear footsteps in the hallway. They sound just like mine. Story 2. I found my own footprints an hour into the hike. They shouldn't have been there. The trail map marked this section as rarely traveled, and the morning fog had left everything damp. Any previous tracks should have been washed away. But there they were. Size 10 hiking boots. Merrell Moabs, the exact same pattern I was wearing. I stopped, checked my GPS. Echo Canyon Trail, mile marker 3.2. No connecting paths for another 2 miles. No way someone could have circled ahead of me. The prints were fresh. Water was still seeping into the depressions, turning the packed dirt into mud. They headed in the same direction I was walking, about 20 feet ahead. I took out my phone and snapped a picture. The signal bars showed empty, but that was normal for this part of the mountain. I'd told my sister I'd be back by sunset. Standard procedure for solo hiking. She had my route marked on a map. I kept walking. The fog hung between the trees in patches, making it hard to see more than 50 feet ahead. The footprints continued. Still fresh, still filling with water. My boots made a soft, sucking sound with each step. The mud was getting thicker. I checked the time. 10:47 a.m. Plenty of daylight left. A twig snapped behind me. I turned, nothing but fog and trees. The path curved out of sight about 30 feet back. Another snap, this time to my right, just off the trail. I pulled out my bear spray, held it ready, probably just a deer. Maybe a coyote. Too small for a bear. The sound came again. Left side now, following the rhythm of my breathing. I started walking faster. The footprints ahead kept pace. 20 feet. No closer, no farther. More snaps. Behind me now, matching my steps exactly. When I sped up, they sped up. When I slowed, they slowed. I stopped. The snapping stopped. My heart pounded against my ribs. Sweat ran down my back despite the cool air. I turned around slowly, scanning the trees. The fog had thickened. I could barely see the path, but I could see the footprints, leading away from me in both directions. Fresh, still filling with water. I checked my phone again. 10:47 a.m. The same time as before. My hands shook as I tried to pull up the trail map. The screen showed my photo of the footprints, but it was different now. In the image, the prints led straight off the trail, into the trees, where I was sure I hadn't gone. Another snap, directly behind me. I ran. The mud grabbed at my boots. The fog closed in. Branches whipped at my face. The snapping followed. Perfect rhythm, like an echo of my own movement. I ran until my lungs burned, until spots danced in my vision. Finally stopped, bent over, hands on knees, gasping. The snapping stopped too. Same timing, same distance. When I could breathe again, I looked around. Really looked. I didn't recognize anything. The trail was gone. Just trees and fog and mud and footprints everywhere, leading in every direction. All fresh, all still filling with water. I pulled out my phone. Still 10:47 a.m. The photo was different again. Now it showed footprints in a perfect circle, getting closer to the center with each rotation, like something walking in or something walking out. I deleted the photo, tried to call my sister. No signal. Checked my GPS. No signal. Checked the time again. 10:47 a.m. I picked a direction and started walking. Had to find the trail again. Had to get out before dark. The fog followed. The snapping followed. Always the same distance. Always the same rhythm. I walked for hours. The sun never moved. The time never changed. My water ran out. My legs ached. But I kept going. Sometimes I thought I saw the trail ahead. But when I got there, just more trees, more fog, more footprints. The circle was getting smaller. I could tell by the prints now. They spiraled inward. All of them, every direction led to the same center. I sat down, put my head between my knees, tried to think. The snapping circled me, steady, patient. When I looked up, the fog had cleared a little, enough to see what was in the center of all those footprints. A cave mouth, black against the gray day. Small, just big enough to crawl through. More footprints led inside, still fresh, still filling with water. My phone buzzed. First signal in hours. One new message. From my sister. Where are you? You were supposed to be back yesterday. The timestamp read 6:15 p.m. Yesterday's date. Another message came through. Found your car at the trailhead. Rangers are searching. Call me. The time on my phone still showed 10:47 a.m. The snapping got closer. I looked at the cave again. The footprints inside seemed to shine, like they were made of water instead of mud. They led down, deep down, another snap. Right behind me now. I could feel breath on my neck. Cold, wet, like fog. I ran for the cave. The entrance was smaller than it looked. I had to crawl. The mud was deeper here, colder. The walls pressed in. The rock was wet, slick. My phone's flashlight showed more footprints, leading down, always down. The snapping followed. I crawled faster. The tunnel twisted, turned. The light barely reached ahead. Water dripped somewhere. The sound echoed, no, not echoed. The drops fell in time with my movement. Like footsteps in mud, like something following. The tunnel opened up. A small chamber, just big enough to stand. My light showed more tunnels, 7 of them, leading off in different directions. Each one had footprints, all fresh, all still filling with water. All mine. The snapping came from every tunnel now. Getting closer, my phone buzzed again. A photo message from my sister. The search team had found something. A single footprint, size 10. Merrill Moab, in the center, standing water. Still rippling. Like something had just stepped there. Like something was still stepping there. The timestamp read, 10:47 a.m. Tomorrow's date. The snapping stopped. The chamber filled with the sound of breathing. From every tunnel, my breathing. But I wasn't breathing. I couldn't breathe. I turned off my light. Sometimes, when the fog rolls in thick on Echo Canyon Trail, hikers report strange sounds, like footsteps in mud, like twigs snapping, like someone breathing just behind them. The rangers posted warning signs. Stay on marked trails. They don't mention the footprints, or the cave, or the fact that every time it fogs, at exactly 10:47 a.m., all the puddles on the trail ripple, like something's walking through them, walking up or walking down. My sister still maintains the missing persons report, still checks the trail cameras. Sometimes they catch something. A figure in hiking boots. Always at 10:47 a.m. The photos are always blurry. But she says the boots are Merrill Moab's, size 10, just like mine. She says the figure is walking in circles, getting closer to the center, where the cave waits. Still fresh, still filling with water. Story 3. The first voicemail came 3 months after Mum died. 2:34 a.m. I almost deleted it without listening. Unknown number. But something made me press play. Static. Just static and silence for 30 seconds. Then the call ended. I checked the number again. My breath caught in my throat. It was Mum's old cell, the one we'd disconnected after the funeral. I saved the message, called the phone company the next morning. "That number's not in service," the representative said. "Hasn't been since February." I played her the voicemail. She put me on hold. Came back 5 minutes later. "There's no record of that call in our system. Are you sure about the number?" I was sure. I dialed it every day for 20 years. The second message came a week later, 2:34 a.m. again. Same number. This time, I heard something in the static. Background noise. Familiar. The hum of Mum's old refrigerator. The one that always needed fixing. The tick of her grandfather clock in the hallway. Sounds from her house. The house we'd sold 2 months ago. I called my sister Kate. "Did you get any strange calls?" "No." "Why?" I told her about the messages. Played them for her. "I don't hear anything," she said. "Just static." But I knew what I heard. Those sounds were burned into my memory. 20 years of Sunday dinners, holiday gatherings, last-minute visits when I needed motherly advice. The messages kept coming, every week, always 2:34 a.m. The background sounds got clearer. The refrigerator, the clock, the creak of floorboards under the carpet in the living room. I started recording them, created a digital folder, labeled each file with date and time. Week 4, water running in the kitchen sink. Week 5, the back door squeaking open. Week 6, footsteps on linoleum. The new owners called me in week 7. "We're hearing strange noises," the woman said. "At night. Like someone's walking around." "Did you change the locks?" I asked. "Of course. And the security system's on. But," she paused, "the noises seem to come from inside the walls. And sometimes, around 2:30 in the morning, the phone rings. But when we answer, there's no one there." I hung up, deleted her number. The next message came right on schedule. 2:34 a.m. The sounds were closer now. Like someone was carrying the phone through the house. Up the stairs, down the hallway, into Mum's old room. I could hear breathing. The messages changed after that. Started coming more often, random times, always when I was alone. In my car during my morning commute, at my desk during lunch break, in the grocery store while shopping, in my apartment at night. The background sounds followed the pattern of my day. Like someone was tracking me, following me, but the breathing stayed the same. Slow, regular, familiar. Mom's breathing the way it sounded near the end, when the machines helped her inhale. I stopped sleeping, stopped answering calls from unknown numbers. Kate came to check on me. "You look terrible," she said. I played her the latest messages, 57 of them. She listened, shook her head. "There's nothing there," she insisted. "Just static." I made her listen again, used my best headphones, turned the volume up. "Please," I said. "Just listen." Her face changed. "Wait, play that last one again." I did. "That voice in the background," she said. "Is that you?" I hadn't heard any voice. We played it back. Louder, through the static and breathing, a whisper. My voice, calling out in my sleep. "Mum." Kate left. Stopped taking my calls. The messages increased, every hour. Sometimes every few minutes. The breathing got louder, closer to the phone. I started hearing my voice more often in the background, having conversations I didn't remember, making promises I hadn't kept. "I'll visit more. I'll call every day." I won't put you in that place. Last night, the messages changed again. The first one came at midnight. Static, breathing, then a voice, Mum's voice. Come home, but it wasn't her voice. Not really, it was mine, my voice, saying her words. The next message, I miss you then, please come home, then, I'm waiting, my voice, her words, over and over. At 2:33 a.m., my phone rang. Mum's number, I answered. The static cleared. The breathing stopped. Hello, my voice came through the speaker, but I hadn't spoken. I'm here, my voice said. At the house. Come home, I hung up. Blocked the number. My phone started ringing again immediately. Different numbers now, all unknown. I blocked each one. They kept coming. Every phone in my apartment started ringing. My cell, my landline, my work phone. I unplugged them all, turned them off. The ringing continued. I could hear it coming from inside the walls, from the pipes, from the heating vents. My voice, Mum's words. Come home, come home, come home. I ran, drove to the old house, parked across the street at 2:34 a.m. The lights were on inside, all of them. Through the windows, I could see someone walking. Room to room, floor to floor, a familiar shape. Mum's height, Mum's walk. But when it passed the living room window, I saw its face. My face. My phone rang in my pocket. I checked the screen. A text from Kate. Where are you? Called your apartment. No answer. Another text. The nursing home called. Some woman keeps trying to visit Mum's old room. Says she's her daughter. Another, they said she looks just like you. The figure in the house reached the front door. Started to open it. I dropped my phone. Put the car in gear. As I drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror. The figure stood in the doorway. Raised its arm. Waved goodbye. Just like Mum used to. Just like I do. I'm in a motel now. 300 miles away. Changed my phone number. Deleted all my social media. But every night at 2:34 a.m., the room phone rings. I don't answer anymore. I don't need to. I can hear the voice through the walls. My voice, getting closer. Calling me home. Kate texted an hour ago. The only number I kept. Someone's been leaving messages on Mum's headstone. Notes in your handwriting. Then, the dates on them are all from next week. The room phone is ringing again. This time, I'm going to answer. I know what I'll hear. My voice, Mum's words, calling me home, for the last time. Story 4. I should have left at 5 p.m., like everyone else. That's what normal people do. But the quarterly report was due tomorrow, and I had 3 weeks of data entry to catch up on. Just another Tuesday night at Morton Financial. The cleaning crew came through at 6:30 p.m. Rosa emptied my trash, gave me a sympathetic smile. Don't work too hard, Mr. Chen. I nodded, eyes fixed on my spreadsheets. Numbers blurred together on the screen. At 8:45 p.m., I realized the cleaning crew never finished their rounds. The vacuum sat abandoned in the hallway. Half the floor still had full trash bins. I got up to stretch. My neck cracked. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. That's when I noticed the monitors, all of them, still on. Every desk, every cubicle. Standard protocol was to shut down computers at the end of the day. Security requirement. But 42 screens glowed blue in the empty office. I walked to Sandra's desk. Her family photos smiled at me from behind her monitor. The screen showed her email, A draft message. To Chen. David at mortonfin.com. Subject. Important recipients. No recipients. The cursor blinked at the top of an empty message. I checked the next desk. Jim's computer. Same thing. Draft email. My address. No message. My stomach tightened. I walked faster, checking screens. Every single monitor showed the same draft email, all addressed to me, all empty. I pulled out my phone, no signal. The Wi-Fi was down too. Back at my desk, I tried to log into the system. Access denied. Network error. I opened my email anyway. Offline mode. New message notification. To Chen. David at mortonfin.com. Subject. Important recipients. 15 recipients. Empty message. Sent 2 minutes ago. From my account. I checked the recipient list. 15 employees. All from my floor. Another notification. To Chen. David at Mort. Calm subject. Important recipients. 27 recipients. Still empty. Still from my account. Sent 1 minute ago. The recipient list grew. 27 names now. My hands shook as I scrolled through the names. Everyone on this floor. Plus people from accounting, HR, legal. New notification. To Chen. David at mortonfin.com. Subject. Important recipients. 42 recipients. The entire floor staff. Every person who worked on level 12. Sent 30 seconds ago. I tried to close Outlook. The program froze. The lights flickered. New notification. To Chen. David at mortonfin.com. Subject. Important recipients. All staff. The message had text now. Look behind you. I spun around. Empty office, silent except for the hum of computers. My screen flashed. To Chen. David at mortonfin.com. Subject. Important recipients. All staff. Third cubicle. Left side. I stood up slowly. Walked to the cubicle. Sandra's desk. The family photos were different now. My face, in every frame. Standing with her family, at the beach, at Christmas dinner, at her daughter's graduation. Photos I'd never taken. My phone buzzed. Email notification. To Chen. David at mortonfin.com. Subject. Important recipients. All staff. Break room now. The break room door was closed. Light spilled from underneath. I heard voices inside. Multiple conversations. Laughter. The clink of coffee cups. At 9:15 p.m., on an empty floor, my phone buzzed again. Open it. I put my hand on the doorknob. Cold metal. The voices got louder. I recognized them. Sandra's laugh. Jim's deep rumble. The new intern's high-pitched giggle. The knob turned under my hand. I pushed the door open. Empty room, dark, silent. But the coffee machine was on. Steam rose from a full pot. 42 mugs sat on the counter. All clean, all empty. My phone buzzed. Sit down. Have some coffee. The lights flickered on. The mugs weren't empty anymore. Each one full to the brim. Still steaming. Names written on the sides. Sandra, Jim, every person on the floor. My mug sat in the center. The coffee inside was black, thick, moving. My phone buzzed again. Drink up. I ran out of the break room, past the glowing monitors. Each screen flashing new messages. Stay. Come back. We saved you a seat. The elevator didn't come. The stairs were locked. Back to my desk. Had to call security. My computer screen had changed. Security camera feeds. Every floor of the building, empty offices, dark hallways, except floor 12. My floor showed a full office. People working, talking, drinking coffee, me at my desk, working late. But that wasn't me. Couldn't be me. I was standing, watching the screen. The other me looked up, smiled at the camera, waved. My phone buzzed one last time. Welcome to the night shift. The lights went out. In the dark, I heard footsteps, coming from every cubicle, chairs rolling, keyboards clicking, coffee cups clinking. A hand touched my shoulder. "Don't work too hard, Mr. Chen," Rosa's voice, but not Rosa's hand. I turned around. 42 people stood in the dark. Their faces glowed blue in the monitor light. All wearing my face, all smiling, all holding coffee cups with my name. The elevator dinged. Morning shift employees stepped out, looked right through me, sat down at their desks, started working. I tried to wave, to shout. They didn't see me, but I saw their screens. Draft emails, all addressed to the next person who worked late. I sit in my cubicle now, watching the day shift leave. One stays behind. Young guy, Jenkins from accounting, working late on quarterly reports. My screen lights up. Draft email to Jenkins. Michael@mortonfin.com. Subject: important recipients, all staff. My fingers move on the keyboard. I don't want them to, but we all have to do our part. For the night shift. Look behind you. Story 5. Mile marker 347. 3 hours into a 6-hour drive. The gas gauge showed quarter tank. My eyes burned from the dark highway. The next rest stop sign glowed in my headlights. Paradise Valley Rest Area, -2 miles. The clock on my dashboard read 2:17 a.m. I hadn't seen another car for 40 minutes. The rest area parking lot was empty except for one vehicle. A white sedan, mid-2000s Toyota Camry. Headlights on. Engine off. Parked in the far corner under a flickering lamppost. I pulled into a spot near the restroom building. Kept my engine running. The temperature gauge showed 34 degrees. No movement from the Camry. No condensation from exhaust. Just headlights cutting through the November fog. I grabbed my phone. No signal. Normal for this stretch of highway. The restroom door creaked when I pushed it open. Motion sensors clicked. Fluorescent lights buzzed to life. When I came out 3 minutes later, the Camry had moved. Now it sat 2 spaces closer to my car, still running silent, still just headlights. I walked quickly to my driver's side door. Checked over my shoulder twice. The lot sloped slightly downhill toward the highway. Maybe the car had rolled, but that didn't explain the perfect parking job between the lines. I started to get in my car. Stopped. The Camry's front wheels pointed straight. The parking lot sloped left to right. If it rolled, it should have turned. I got in my car, locked the doors, put it in reverse, looked in my rearview mirror. The Camry had moved again, now just 1 space away. My hands shook on the steering wheel. Sweat ran down my back despite the cold. I turned around in my seat, stared at the Camry through my back window. No driver visible, no movement inside. Just headlights aimed at my car. I hit the gas, backed out fast. The Camry didn't move. I shifted to drive, turned toward the exit. The Camry's headlights disappeared from my mirrors, then lit up my passenger side. It had moved, instantly, silently. Now parallel to my car, I floored it. The Camry kept pace. Perfect alignment. Like it was attached to my car. The engine made no sound. The wheels didn't turn. It just moved. I swerved left, then right. The Camry matched every motion. Always the same distance. Always silent. The exit came up fast. I took it at 40 miles per hour. The Camry followed, floating over the curb, through the grass, never losing speed. Back on the highway, I pushed my car to 90. The Camry stayed right beside me. I couldn't see inside it. The windows were dark, but the headlights showed something. A shape in the driver's seat. Not moving, not driving, just sitting, head turned toward me. My gas gauge dropped to empty. The next exit was 30 miles away. I kept driving, pushed past 95. The steering wheel shook. The Camry never fell behind. Never made a sound. Just glided along, headlights steady. 10 minutes passed. 20. My engine started to sputter. The Camry moved closer, inch by inch, still matching my speed. I could almost make out the driver's face, almost see through the dark windows. My car coughed, lost power. I coasted to the shoulder. The Camry followed. The headlights got brighter, closer. I fumbled with my phone. Still no signal. The Camry stopped, perfectly aligned with my car, 3 feet away. The driver's window started to roll down. I closed my eyes. Nothing happened. When I opened them, the Camry was gone. My gas gauge showed full. I sat there for 10 minutes, hands gripping the wheel, heart pounding. Finally pulled back onto the highway. Made it half a mile before my rearview mirror lit up. Headlights getting closer. I checked the approaching car in my side mirror. White sedan, mid-2000s Camry, but different license plate, different driver, same position. Head turned toward me, not moving, just sitting, waiting. I floored it again. The Camry followed. This time, I watched the driver through my mirror. The head never moved. Never adjusted for bumps or turns, because it wasn't attached to a body, just a head, floating in the driver's seat. Turned toward me, smiling. My gas gauge dropped to empty again. I kept driving. The next Camry had no driver at all. The one after that had something in the back seat. Something big, dark, moving. It's been 6 hours now. The sun rose an hour ago. I've passed the same mile marker 4 times. My GPS shows me driving straight, but I keep ending up back here. Mile marker 347. Paradise Valley Rest Area. 2 miles. My gas gauge bounces between full and empty. Every car I pass is a white Camry now, all with their headlights on, all driving themselves, all following me. I counted 12 in my mirrors, then 20. Now I've lost count. They're getting closer, moving as one, silent, waiting. My exit is coming up, but I know where it leads. Back to that rest stop, where the first Camry waits, under the flickering lamppost, headlights on, engine silent, driver's window rolling down. I think I'll keep driving. Maybe the next exit will be different. Maybe the next Camry will be empty. Maybe the next mile marker won't say 347. But I can see them in my mirrors, getting closer. All turning their heads toward me now, all smiling, all waiting for me to run out of gas, to join their quiet parade, down this endless highway, past Paradise Valley, mile after mile, until someone else pulls into that rest stop, at 2:17 a.m., looking for a break from the dark road, finding only headlights, and silence, and a white Camry, with me inside. Turned toward them, smiling, waiting. Story 6. The 7:15 a.m. bus is never late. Route 23, from the suburbs to downtown. I've taken it every weekday for 3 years. Same seat, third row from the back, right side. I first saw the child on a Tuesday in October, standing at the Palmer Street stop. Small, maybe 8 or 9. Wearing a blue wool coat and grey shorts. Brown shoes with knee socks. No one else waited at the stop. No parents. No other kids. The bus slowed, stopped. The doors opened with a hiss. The child didn't move. Just stood there, perfectly still. Staring straight ahead. Mrs. Henderson from accounting sat across from me, focused on her phone. Mr. Roberts from the bank dozed in his usual spot up front. "Hey," I whispered to Mrs. Henderson. "Look at that kid." She didn't look up. "What kid?" The doors closed. The bus pulled away. In my side mirror, I watched the child, still standing, still staring. The next morning, same stop. The child stood in the exact same position. Same blue coat, same grey shorts, same blank stare. This time, I watched the other passengers. None of them looked at the child. None of them seemed to notice when we drove past. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every morning. Palmer Street stop, 7:15 a.m. The child never moved. Never tried to board. Just stood and stared. I started taking pictures with my phone, comparing them each night. The pose never changed, down to the smallest detail. The way the right hand hung slightly lower than the left. The slight tilt of the head. The direction of the shadows. Even the shadows stayed the same. Despite the changing weather. Despite the moving sun. Week 2, I switched seats. Left side of the bus. Better view of the stop. The child's face looked wrong. Too smooth, too still. Like a department store mannequin. I zoomed in on the photos. The eyes didn't blink. Didn't move. Just stared straight ahead. Through the bus. Through me. I showed the pictures to my coworker, Tom. "What am I looking at?" he asked. "The kid, in the blue coat." He squinted at my phone. "I don't see any kid." I pointed to the figure, clear as day in the center of the frame. Tom shook his head. "Just an empty bus stop, man." Week 3, I got off at Palmer Street, walked around the stop, took measurements, photos from every angle. The ground showed no footprints, no scuff marks, no sign anyone had stood there. That night, I researched the area's history. Palmer Street School, closed in 1953, demolished 1954. The bus stop used to be the front entrance. A photo in the local library archives. Class of 1953. 20 smiling faces in black and white. Back row, third from the right. Blue coat, grey shorts, brown shoes with knee socks. The caption listed names in order. Timothy Wells, deceased October 15th, 1953. Traffic accident at school entrance. I drove to the stop that night. 3 a.m., empty streets. A blue wool coat hung on the bus stop sign, swaying in wind that didn't exist. When I reached for it, it vanished. The next morning, I watched the other passengers more carefully. Mrs. Henderson, always on her phone, never looking up. Mr. Roberts, always sleeping, never waking. The college student with headphones. The nurse in scrubs. The businessman with the briefcase. All the same, every day. Same clothes. Same positions. Same blank stares. I checked my photos again. Their faces looked wrong now too. Too smooth. Too still. The bus driver never turned his head. Never checked mirrors. Never blinked. just drove. Perfect route, perfect timing. Every day, week 4, I stayed home. Watched through my window as the 7:15 bus passed. Empty, no passengers, no driver, just ghosts in the windows, repeating their daily routine. And at Palmer Street, a small figure in a blue coat, waiting, always waiting. I took a different route to work, different bus, different time, but every morning at 7:15, my phone buzzed. Photos I hadn't taken, the bus, the passengers, the child, and me, in my usual seat, 3rd row from the back, right side, staring straight ahead, never blinking, never moving. Yesterday, I found a bus pass in my coat pocket, Route 23, October 15th, 1953. This morning, I waited at my stop. 7:14 a.m., the bus appeared, right on time. Through the windows, I saw them all, Mrs. Henderson, Mr. Roberts, the college student, the nurse, the businessman, all staring ahead, all perfectly still. The doors opened, the driver turned. First time I'd ever seen him move. He wore a blue wool coat, grey shorts, brown shoes with knee socks. His face was smooth, like plastic, like a mannequin. "Welcome back," he said, in a child's voice. I looked down at my clothes. Blue wool coat, grey shorts, brown shoes with knee socks. My hands were smooth now, like plastic, like a mannequin. I took my seat. 3rd row from the back, right side. The bus moved. Perfect route, perfect timing. At Palmer Street, I saw a man through the window, taking pictures with his phone. He looked familiar, like me, before. Tomorrow morning, he'll be here, in this seat. And I'll be at the next stop, waiting, wearing my blue coat. Standing perfectly still, watching the 7:15 bus pass by. Right on time, like always, forever. It's what we do, us ghosts of Route 23, keeping our schedule, running our route, waiting for new passengers, to fill our empty seats, to wear our old clothes, to ride with us, forever. The 7:15 a.m. bus is never late, and neither are we. Story 7. The Smartum Hub arrived on a Thursday. Black box, clean design. Total home awareness printed in silver letters on the side. Installation took 20 minutes. 4 cameras. Motion sensors in every room. Door and window monitors. All connected to my phone through the Hub app. The first notification came at 2:47 a.m. Movement detected. Living room, I checked the live feed. Empty room, dark except for the TV standby light. Second notification, 2:48 a.m. Movement detected. Kitchen, another empty room. I got out of bed, walked downstairs, checked both rooms. Nothing moved, nothing out of place. The app showed no recordings of the detected movement, just empty rooms. I adjusted the sensitivity settings, went back to bed. 3:15 a.m. Movement detected. Master bedroom. The live feed showed me, standing in my doorway, checking my phone, but I was sitting on my bed. I looked up. Empty doorway. The recording showed nothing. In the morning, I called tech support. Systems working fine, the representative said. No errors in the logs. I described the phantom movements, the missing recordings. Sometimes it takes 24 hours for the AI to calibrate to your home's normal patterns. That night, the notifications started again. 9:47 p.m. Movement detected. Home office. The live feed showed me, sitting at my desk, working on my laptop. but I was in the kitchen. I ran upstairs. Empty office. Dark screen. The app chirped. Movement predicted. Kitchen. Time. 9:48 p.m. I froze. 1 minute later, I walked into the kitchen. Exactly as predicted. The notifications changed after that. They came earlier. Minutes ahead, then hours. Movement predicted. Bathroom. Time. 11:30 p.m. Movement predicted. Living room. Time. 2:15 a.m. Movement predicted. Master bedroom. Time. 4:45 a.m. Each time, precise, perfect. The app knew where I would go before I did. I started checking the next day's predictions. Movement predicted. Kitchen. Time. 7 a.m. Making coffee. Movement predicted. Home office. Time. 8:30 a.m. Working. Movement predicted. Living room. Time. 6 p.m. Watching TV. My entire routine mapped out down to the minute. But some predictions didn't match my plans. Movement predicted. Front door. Time. 11:47 p.m. Trying to leave. Movement predicted. All rooms. Time. 2:30 a.m. Searching for way out. Movement predicted. Basement. Time. 3:15 a.m. Hiding. I deleted the app. Unplugged the hub. The predictions came anyway. Text messages now. From numbers that changed every time. Future me. Moving through my house. Following a script I hadn't read. I stayed at a hotel. The messages continued. Movement predicted. Room 237. Time. 10:15 p.m. Pacing. Movement predicted. Hotel lobby. Time. 11:30 p.m. Attempting to check out. Movement predicted. Home. Time. 12 a.m. Returning, I drove to my sister's house, 3 hours away. The predictions followed. Movement predicted. Sister's guest room. Time. 9 p.m. Installing cameras. I checked the room. Found wireless cameras. Hidden in vents. Behind pictures. I hadn't put them there. But the app showed my face. My hands, installing each one. Timestamp. Tomorrow morning, I ran. Kept driving. No destination. The predictions adapted. Movement predicted. Highway 16. Time 2:45 a.m. Running low on gas. Movement predicted. Rest stop. Time 3:30 a.m. Sleeping in car. Movement predicted. Home. Time 8 a.m. Giving up single quotes, each one came true. No matter what I did, no matter which choice I made, the app knew, always knew. Back home, I checked the cameras, watched the recordings. Me in every room, but not me now. Me tomorrow, me next week. Walking circuits through the house, following patterns, repeating routines. Sometimes looking at the cameras, sometimes hiding from them, sometimes screaming. No sound in the recordings. Latest prediction. Movement detected. All rooms. Time 3 a.m. Installing more cameras. I checked the house, found cameras I didn't recognize. Hundreds of them, in walls, in ceilings, behind mirrors. All connected to the hub, all watching. The app showed me installing them. Tomorrow night, my hands shook as I pulled them out, smashed them. New prediction, movement detected. All rooms, time 3 a.m. Installing more cameras. I smashed the hub, burned it. New prediction, hub replacement arriving tomorrow. Time 9 a.m. Standard installation. I blocked every number. Bought a new phone. The predictions came through my TV, my laptop, my car radio. Always my future. always watching. Today's prediction: movement detected. Home office. Time: 7 p.m. Writing this story. Tomorrow's prediction: movement detected. All rooms. Time: unknown. Being watched. The next day. Movement detected. None. Time: continuous. Becoming cameras. I look at my hands now. They look normal, but in the camera feeds, they're changing. Becoming smooth, black, lens-shaped, like the hub cameras. Like the eyes that watch me, that will watch others. New prediction: total home awareness achieved. Time: soon. Your turn to watch. I can feel them growing, under my skin, behind my eyes. Small cameras, countless lenses, recording everything, predicting everything, showing others their futures, teaching them to watch, to record, to predict, to become, like I am becoming. The hub doesn't predict my movements anymore, because I am the hub now, all-seeing, all-knowing, and you just installed me in your home. Check your phone. The first prediction is coming. Movement detected. Story 8. My first day as a museum docent started with the morning walkthrough. 6 rooms of Renaissance art. 9 hours per shift. One painting caught my eye immediately. Woman at window, artist unknown. Circa 1580. Simple composition. A woman in a black dress stood at a window, facing away from the viewer. Long dark hair, pale hands clasped behind her back. The security guard, Mike, caught me staring. "That one's new," he said. "Arrived last week. Private donation." I nodded, made a note in my tour guide. Room 3, north wall, between the Botticelli and the Raphael. 2 hours into my shift, I passed it again. Something felt different. The woman's hands, previously clasped at waist level, now held slightly lower. I checked my notes. No mention of the hand position. "Tricks of the light," Mike said when I asked. "These old paintings play with your eyes." By lunch break, I was sure the hands had moved again. Now at hip level, fingers spread slightly. I took a photo with my phone. Evidence for later comparison. The afternoon tour brought me past 6 more times. Each time, small changes. The hands dropped lower. The head tilted slightly right. The hair shifted, revealing more neck. The dress wrinkled differently at the shoulders. I took photos each time, compared them in the break room. The changes were subtle, easy to miss, but undeniable when viewed in sequence. The woman was moving. Mike laughed when I showed him. "Looks the same to me. Maybe you need a break," but he wouldn't look directly at the photos. His eyes kept sliding away. I started documenting everything. Timestamps, lighting conditions, position of nearby artwork. The changes accelerated. Day 2, the woman's posture straightened. Day 3, her right foot shifted, turning slightly. Day 4, her shoulders rotated 2 degrees left. Small movements, building to something. I contacted the donor. The museum had no record of their name. Searched art databases. No mention of woman at window before last week. Asked other docents if they noticed anything. They avoided room 3 entirely. Week 2 brought bigger changes. The woman's head turned, just a fraction, but enough to glimpse her profile. Sharp nose, high cheekbone, one eye, dark and deep. The window in the painting changed too. The view outside shifted from countryside to city. Buildings replaced trees. More photos, more documentation, more evidence that no one would look at. Mike stopped patrolling room 3. "Bad feeling," he said. like someone watching. I knew that feeling. The prickle on my neck every time I entered the room. The weight of that one visible eye. Week 3. The woman turned further. Quarter profile now. I could see her mouth. The hint of a smile. The window showed a different city. Modern buildings, cars, streetlights. I recognized the view. Downtown, 5 blocks from the museum. The next day, half profile. Smile wider. Both eyes visible. Fixed on the window. The view closer now. 3 blocks away. I started taking photos from multiple angles. Different lenses. Different times of day. The developed pictures showed nothing. Just an empty frame. But my phone captured everything. Every change. Every movement. Week 4, 3/4 profile. The smile stretched to wide. Eyes too dark. Skin too pale. The window showed my street. My apartment building. I stopped giving tours in room 3. But I couldn't stop checking. Couldn't stop documenting. The woman turned more each day. Degree by degree, the view through the window crept closer to my home. I taped all my windows shut, covered them with blankets. Didn't matter. The painting showed inside my apartment now. My furniture, my photos, my life on display. Yesterday, the woman faced forward, full face visible. Not human. Never human. Black holes for eyes. Smile splitting her face. Skin like cracked porcelain. The window showed my bedroom. My bed, me sleeping. I downloaded all the photos to my laptop. Compiled them into a video. 5 weeks of movement. 5 weeks of turning. Sent them to every museum curator. Every art expert I could find. No responses. Just empty emails bouncing back. Today, I arrived early. Had to check. Had to know. The painting had changed one last time. Empty window now. Black rectangle against grey wall. And the woman, gone. A new docent stood in front of the frame. Reading my tour notes, I approached her. Tried to warn her. She turned. Black dress. Long dark hair. Pale hands clasped behind her back. Facing the window. Starting to turn, I ran. Drove home. Packed a bag. Had to leave. But every window I pass shows the same scene. Black dress. Long hair. Turning. Turning. My phone keeps taking pictures. I don't press the button. Each one shows her closer. More turned. Wider smile. The latest photo just came through. She's facing forward now. In my window. But I'm looking at my phone. I shouldn't look up. Shouldn't turn around. But I can feel it. Cold hands on my shoulders. Long hair brushing my neck. A smile stretching wide in black glass. I'm going to turn now. Just a fraction. Just a degree. Like she did, day by day. Until I'm facing forward. Until I'm ready. For the next viewer. The next docent. The next window. Don't look too long at this story. The words might start to turn. Like she did. Like I did. Like you will. When you see us in your window. Turning, turning, turned. Story 9. The calls always came during my midnight shift at KBXR radio. Dead air hours, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Just me, a playlist of soft rock, and the occasional insomniac caller. The first one came at 3:33 a.m. on a Tuesday. The caller ID showed all zeros. KBXR, you're on the air with Danny. Static. Then a woman's voice, distant and hollow. I'm driving north on Route 23, past mile marker 147. The signs are wrong. Wrong how? They show places that don't exist. Cities I've never heard of. And the distances keep changing. Click. Line dead. I checked the station map. Route 23 didn't have a mile marker 147. It ended at 126. The next call came Wednesday, 3:33 a.m. exactly. Different number, all ones this time. KBXR, you're on with Danny. A man's voice. Young, scared. Route 23 North. Mile marker 147. The radio only plays your station now, but the songs are wrong. They're all about accidents, about people disappearing. What songs? We're playing Billy Joel. No, listen. Really listen. Click. I rewound the broadcast tape. Billy Joel's Piano Man. Nothing about accidents. Thursday, 3:33 a.m. Number, all twos. Route 23. Mile marker, 147. The other cars, they're empty, but they're still driving. Still following the road. Female voice, different from Tuesday. Have you called the police? They don't answer anymore. Nothing answers except this station. Where are you trying to go? I don't remember. The signs keep changing, but they all point to Click. I started recording the calls, keeping notes. Friday, all threes. Male caller. The mile markers are counting up now. Past 200. But the road doesn't go that far. Saturday, all fours. Female caller. The cars are following me. Empty cars. Their headlights show faces in the back seats. Sunday, all fives. Male caller. The radio's showing coordinates now. Numbers that don't make sense. And your voice. It's changing. Each caller told the same basic story. Route 23. Mile marker 147. Wrong signs. Empty cars. But each one got further before the line cut out. I mapped their stories. Created a timeline. Signs change. Radio distorts. Empty cars appear. Backseat faces. Impossible coordinates. My voice changes. The pattern was building, leading somewhere. Monday, 3:33 a.m. All sixes. I can see the end now, where all the signs point. Where the empty cars go. What's there? A station. Your station. But it's wrong. The building's too tall. The lights are too bright, and in the windows Click. I looked out the studio window. 4th floor view of downtown. The station was 6 stories tall. Had always been 4 stories before. Tuesday, 3:33 a.m. All sevens. I'm in the parking lot. The empty cars are here. Hundreds of them. All facing the building. All running. But the drivers. What about the drivers? They're inside. In the studio. With you. But they're not. They're not. Click. I checked the security cameras. Empty parking lot. Empty halls. Except, in the studio feed, shadows behind me. Dozens of them. Standing still. Watching. Wednesday, 3:33 a.m. All 8s. I'm in the elevator. Going up. Past the 4th floor. Past the 6th. Still going. This building only has 6 floors. No, it goes higher. Much higher. And in every studio, on every floor. What? You. Broadcasting. Taking calls. But your voice. Your faces. Click. The elevator indicator above my door lit up. 7, 8, 9. Numbers we didn't have. Still climbing. Thursday. 3:33 a.m. All 9s. I'm here. In your studio, right now. But not this studio. Another one. Higher up. Where the other yous are. Where we all end up. I don't understand. Look at your call log. Really look. I pulled up the screen. All the numbers. All 0s to 9s. They made coordinates. Points on a map. Connected, They formed a spiral, centered on the station. The signs were right, the caller said. All roads lead here. To this station, to this time, to you. Who are you? Look behind you, I turned. The shadows had faces now, my face repeated dozens of times. All speaking into microphones, all taking calls, all turning to look at me. The caller spoke again. In my voice, your shift's over. Time for the next Danny to take over. Click, the studio lights went out. In the dark, I heard breathing, multiple voices, all mine, speaking into dead microphones, taking calls that hadn't happened yet. From drivers still on Route 23, still passing mile marker 147, still following signs that led here, to this station, this time, this studio, where we all end up. Broadcasting forever, into empty cars, into wrong numbers, into the dark, the elevators moving again, going up, past floors that don't exist, to studios that shouldn't be there, where other me's wait, taking calls, always at 3:33 a.m., always from Route 23, always ending the same way, with a new Danny, taking over the midnight shift, forever. My phone's ringing now. The caller ID shows all zeros. It's 3:33 a.m. Time for my next call. My last call, before I join the others, in the higher studios, where the real broadcast never ends, where all the roads lead, where all the Danas go, to take calls, from drivers who will become us, one by one, night after night, at 3:33 a.m., when the signal never dies, it just changes, like we do, like I am, like you will. When you hear us on your radio, driving north on Route 23, past mile marker 147, following signs that lead nowhere, and everywhere, to this station. This time, this ending, that never ends. Story 10. I first noticed him on a Wednesday morning. Corner booth at May's Diner. Old man, maybe 70. Grey suit, reading yesterday's paper. Coffee cup steaming in front of him. I ate breakfast at May's every morning. Part of my routine. The old man became part of it too. Always the same booth. Always yesterday's paper. Always one cup of coffee. Sarah, the morning waitress, walked past his table. Didn't stop. Didn't refill his cup. The steam kept rising. Week 2, I sat closer, 3 booths away. Watched him over my eggs and toast. He never turned a page. Never lifted his cup. Just sat, staring at the same article. The steam never stopped. I caught Sarah's eye, pointed to his cup. Need a refill? She looked confused, glanced at the corner booth, looked back at me, which cupped the old man's coffee. In the corner, she shook her head, walked away. I moved closer the next day, 2 booths away. His reflection in the window was wrong, distorted, too tall, too thin. The coffee steam made shapes in the glass, letters, maybe, or faces. I couldn't read his newspaper from my angle, but I saw the date, June 15th, 1973, 50 years ago. Week 3, I switched to the booth directly across. Could see him clearly now. Grey hair, pale skin, hands folded over the paper. He didn't breathe. The coffee steam moved against the air current from the ceiling fan, curled into impossible angles. I asked Tom, the cook, about him. Corner booth's been empty all morning, he said. Didn't look up from the grill. I took out my phone, snapped a picture. The screen showed an empty booth, but in the window reflection, I saw him, watching me take the photo, smiling. Week 4, I started arriving earlier. Watched them open the diner. Sarah unlocked the doors at 5 a.m. Turned on the lights. The old man was already there. Coffee steaming. Paper folded. Waiting. I checked old newspapers. Local archives. Death records. Founded in the June 16, 1973 edition. Local man found dead at Mays Diner, heart attack. Corner booth. Yesterday's paper still in his hands. The photo showed my corner booth. Different wallpaper. Same table. Same coffee cup. The article mentioned one detail that made my hands shake. Cup of coffee still steaming when authorities arrived. 12 hours after death. I started taking notes. Recording patterns. The steam moved in sequences, repeating every hour. The paper showed different articles each day, all from June 15, 1973. His reflection changed angles that shouldn't be possible. The temperature around his booth dropped 15 degrees. I showed my notes to Sarah. She quit the next day. Tom stopped cooking corner booth orders. Food just comes back, cold, untouched. No matter how hot we serve it. I kept watching. The old man never changed, never moved. But the booth changed around him. The vinyl cracked and repaired itself. The table scratches appeared and vanished. The window streaks rearranged into words. Always the same words. Join me for coffee. Week 5, I sat in his booth. The old man didn't move, didn't look up. But his coffee cup had a twin now, steaming in front of me. I picked it up. The liquid was black, too black, like looking into a hole. The steam wrote words in the air. Yesterday's news is tomorrow's truth. The old man turned his paper toward me. June 15, 1973. My obituary, heart attack, Mays Diner, corner booth. Tomorrow's date. I set down the cup, stood up, walked out, never went back. But every morning, my coffee maker turns itself on. Steam writes words on my kitchen windows. Missing you at Mays. My newspapers change overnight, every morning. June 15th, 1973. Every headline about me. Every death at the same booth. I drive past Mays sometimes. The corner booth is always full now. Old man in a grey suit. Young man in a blue jacket. Both reading yesterday's paper. Both cups steaming. Both waiting for the next customer. The next coffee. The next yesterday. Sarah called last week. She's working at a new diner now. Different city, different name. Same corner booth. Same old man. Same steam rising. Writing the same invitation. Tom closed Mays yesterday. Said the coffee maker wouldn't stop. Every cup came out black. Too black. Every customer saw their obituary. In yesterday's paper. In tomorrow's booth. I make my own coffee now. But it always tastes wrong. Too hot. Too black. Too yesterday. And the steam. The steam writes new words every morning. Your booth is waiting. Your paper is ready. Your yesterday is coming. I know I'll go back. We all do. To that corner booth. That steaming cup. That yesterday's paper. Where our tomorrows wait. In headlines 50 years old. In coffee that never cools. In reflections that never match. The corner booth at Mays is never empty, just waiting for yesterday's customers, tomorrow's obituaries, and coffee that steams forever. Writing our invitations in yesterday's air, tomorrow's windows, forever's booth, where we all sit eventually, reading about our ends. In yesterday's news, tomorrow's truth, and steam that never stops rising. Never stops writing, never stops inviting the next customer, the next yesterday, the next forever, in May's corner booth, where the coffee's always hot, the news is always old, and we're always just about to take our last sip. Story 11. I should have known something was wrong when I found the chair in the middle of the lobby. It was a basic office chair, the kind you see everywhere, but it had no business being there. The building was empty. Had been for months. That's why they hired security in the first place. I'm Sarah Chen, night security at the Lakewood Commerce Center. It's a massive office complex scheduled for demolition next month. My job is simple. Patrol the empty floors, check the cameras, and make sure no one breaks in. The pay is decent, and the solitude doesn't bother me. At least, it didn't until that first chair showed up. The night started like any other. I arrived at 10 p.m., relieved the day guard, and settled into my routine. The security office is a small room near the main entrance. Walls lined with monitors showing feeds from 36 cameras throughout the building. My desk faces the door with the monitors behind me. I can swivel around to check them whenever I want. I did my first walkthrough at 10:30. Everything normal on floors 1 through 6. Empty offices, conference rooms, break areas. The sound of my boots echoed off bare walls. The cleaning crew had cleared out most of the furniture weeks ago. What remained was wrapped in plastic, pushed against walls, waiting for the moving company. At midnight, I checked the cameras before starting my second round. That's when I noticed it. A single office chair, sitting perfectly centered in the ground floor lobby. I rewound the footage. No one had entered. The chair hadn't moved. It was just there. I grabbed my flashlight and went to investigate. The chair looked ordinary enough. Black mesh back, adjustable arms, 5 wheels. I checked for footprints in the dust. Nothing. I pushed the chair back against the wall where the others were stored and returned to my post. An hour later, the chair was back in the center of the lobby. This time, I watched the footage more carefully. No glitches, no gaps. The feed showed an empty lobby for hours. But there was the chair, plain as day. I radioed dispatch base. This is Chen at Lakewood. Any maintenance crews scheduled tonight? Negative, Chen. Buildings locked down until demolition. I pushed the chair back again, took a photo with my phone, checked the storage area where we kept the wrapped furniture. Nothing seemed disturbed. By 3 a.m., 3 more chairs had appeared. One in the third-floor hallway, one by the elevator, one facing my security desk. I hadn't heard a sound. The cameras showed nothing, no movement, no people. Just chairs appearing between frames. I called my supervisor. Mark, something weird is happening here. Define weird. I explained about the chairs. He sighed. Probably kids messing around. Check your badges. Make sure no one copied an access key. I checked. All badges accounted for. All doors secure. But now there were 8 chairs, arranged in a loose circle in the lobby. I started taking photos of everything. The chairs, the camera feeds, the badge log. My hands shook as I documented each new appearance. The office felt colder. By 4 a.m., chairs lined the hallway leading to the back exit. 15 of them, spaced exactly 3 feet apart. They all faced the same direction, forward, like an audience. I stayed in the security office, watched the monitors, called dispatch every 30 minutes. They logged my calls but couldn't explain anything. At 4:45, the power flickered. The emergency lights kicked in, bathing everything in dim blue. When main power returned 10 seconds later, every chair in the building had moved. They formed a path now, starting from the lobby, up the stairs, through each floor, ending at my office door. Hundreds of chairs, all facing the same way, leading somewhere. I checked the cameras again. Still no movement caught on video. Just chairs appearing in new positions between frames. My chest felt tight. Sweat soaked through my uniform. 5 a.m., 1 hour until my shift ended. I heard a sound from the lobby. A soft scraping, like wheels rolling across carpet. The monitor showed nothing moving, but the sound continued. Closer now, multiple chairs rolling in unison. I backed away from the door, grabbed my phone to call dispatch. No signal. The scraping stopped outside my office. I counted the seconds. 1 minute, 2. Then the door handle turned slowly. I raised my flashlight, ready to blind whoever entered. The door swung open. Empty hallway. But all the chairs now faced inward, forming a circle around my office. And in the center of my desk sat a small brass key I'd never seen before. The key felt cold in my hand, old-fashioned, with an intricate pattern on the head. As I held it, I noticed something else had changed. A door, at the end of the chair-lined path. A heavy wooden door with a brass lock. It hadn't been there before. Couldn't have been. I'd worked this building for months. The chairs seemed to lean forward slightly, like eager spectators. The key grew colder. I checked my watch. 5:30 a.m. 30 minutes until shift change. The door waited. I could hear something behind it. A familiar sound, but wrong somehow. Like dozens of office chairs rolling backwards, wheels scraping concrete, moving away from something, or towards it. I put the key in my pocket, sat down, watched the monitors until my replacement arrived. I quit that morning, left my badge with dispatch, didn't explain why, but I kept the key. Sometimes at night, I take it out and look at it. It's still cold to the touch. And sometimes, when things are very quiet, I hear that scraping sound, like wheels turning, getting closer. The demolition was cancelled. The building stands empty now. Chain link fence around the perimeter. No trespassing signs every 20 feet. I drive past sometimes, on my way to my new job. The windows are dark. But at night, if you look carefully, you might see something moving inside. Office chairs, they say, rolling through empty halls. Always in formation. Always leading to that door. I still have the key. And sometimes I wonder, what if I had used it? What if I had followed that path of chairs and opened that door? What would I have found? But then I remember the sound. That scraping. That waiting. And I know that whatever's behind that door is still there, still arranging its chairs, still leading people down its path, still waiting for someone to turn that key. The building will stay standing. The chairs will keep moving. And somewhere in those dark halls, a door that shouldn't exist holds secrets I never want to discover. I got a new job. Day shift at a warehouse. No chairs allowed on the floor, just forklifts and steel shelves. But sometimes, when I'm alone in the break room, I notice the chairs seem to shift, just slightly, always facing the same direction, always pointing somewhere I can't see. And I keep that key locked away, not because I'm afraid I'll use it, because sometimes, late at night, I hear it turning by itself. I don't work security anymore. Don't work nights at all. But I know what's happening in that building. Those chairs are still moving. Still arranging themselves. Still leading to that door. Waiting for someone else to take the night shift. Someone else to find that key. Someone else to finally open that door. I won't be there when it happens, but I'll know, we'll all know. It can wait. After all, it has plenty of seats to offer. End of shift report. June 15th, 2024. Chen, Sarah. Badge number 4172. Final log entry. Building secure. All doors locked. Furniture inventory. Missing. Below that, in different handwriting, replacement chairs ordered. Night shift position open. Key found on desk. Ready for next guard. The cycle continues. The chairs wait. The door remains. Your shift starts at 10 p.m. Story 12. The first time I saw them was at the trailhead. An elderly couple checking their map at the information board. The woman wore a red windbreaker and beige hiking pants. The man had on a blue baseball cap and carried a wooden walking stick. They smiled and nodded as I passed. I was doing a day hike on Echo Trail, a popular 8-mile loop in the Cascade Mountains. The weather forecast showed clear skies, perfect hiking conditions. I'd done this trail dozens of times, always alone. I liked the solitude. The path started with a steady climb through pine forest. My boots crunched on gravel. Birds called overhead. 20 minutes in, I stopped at the first viewpoint to take photos of the valley below. That's when I saw them again. The same couple, walking in the opposite direction. The woman's windbreaker was slightly darker now, almost burgundy. The man's cap had a small tear in the brim. Beautiful morning, the woman said as they passed. I checked my phone. No signal, but that was normal up here. I took a few photos of the view and continued climbing. The trail switched back up the mountain. Sparse trees gave way to open meadow. I stopped at the second viewpoint, a rocky outcrop overlooking a steep drop. I unscrewed my water bottle. Footsteps on gravel. The couple again, coming down as I was going up. The woman's jacket looked worn now, faded in patches. The man's walking stick had dark stains on the handle. Lovely day for a hike, the man said. His voice sounded hollow, like he was speaking from inside a tunnel. My hand shook as I raised my water bottle. This wasn't possible. They'd been heading down while I was going up. The trail was a one-way loop. We shouldn't have crossed paths again. I pulled out my phone and took their photo as they passed. Just to prove to myself I wasn't imagining things. The climb got steeper. The air felt thinner. Clouds gathered overhead, though the forecast had promised sun all day. I reached the third viewpoint, a wooden platform extending over a cliff edge, gravel crunching behind me. My shoulders tensed. The couple emerged from the trail. The woman's windbreaker hung in tatters now. The man's cap was gone, revealing matted grey hair. His walking stick looked rotted, green with mold. They didn't speak this time, just stood there, swaying slightly. Their skin had a grey tinge. The woman's eyes seemed darker, deeper set. I fumbled with my phone, pulled up the photo I'd taken earlier. The screen showed the viewpoint, empty trail, no couple. My hands went numb. Sweat ran down my back despite the cool air. Having trouble with your phone? The woman asked. Her voice cracked like dry leaves. I shoved the phone in my pocket, started walking faster up the trail. The clouds darkened. Wind whipped through the trees. Fourth viewpoint, highest point of the trail, stone bench overlooking 3 valleys. I couldn't catch my breath. Fog rolled in, thick and grey. Footsteps, slower now, dragging. The couple emerged from the mist. The woman's windbreaker hung in ribbons, revealing blackened skin beneath. The man's face had collapsed inward, empty eye sockets fixed on me. His walking stick crawled with insects. Almost there, the woman whispered. Her teeth were green with algae. I ran. The trail descended sharply. My boots slipped on wet rocks. Branches whipped my face. The fog pressed in, so thick I could barely see 3 feet ahead. Something moved in the mist. Shapes flickering at the edge of vision. The sound of dragging feet, coming from all directions. I checked my phone again, pulled up my photos, scrolled backward through the day. First viewpoint, empty trail. Second viewpoint, empty trail. Third viewpoint, empty trail. But in each photo, the background got darker. The trees more twisted. The sky wrong somehow. The latest photo showed something else. Behind the empty bench, in the fog. Dozens of figures, all couples, all elderly, all wearing the same clothes in different states of decay, all facing the camera. My foot caught a root. I fell hard, rolled down a short slope. Pine needles and dirt filled my mouth. The fog parted. They stood in a circle around me. Not just the first couple, many couples, maybe hundreds, all in different stages of decomposition, all wearing hiking clothes, all holding wooden walking sticks that writhed and twisted in their grip. "Welcome to Echo Trail," they said in unison. Their voices echoed off rocks that hadn't been there before. I scrambled to my feet, turned in circles. No trail visible now, just fog and figures. "You'll like it here," the first woman said. Her windbreaker fell away completely, revealing ribs that moved like fingers. "Lots of nice people to hike with," the first man added. His walking stick burrowed into the ground like a living thing. I broke through their circle, ran blindly. The fog had teeth now, tearing at my clothes. The ground shifted under my feet. A light ahead, the trailhead parking lot. My car, I sprinted the last 100 yards, fumbled my keys, got the door open. As I started the engine, I looked in my rearview mirror. The fog had cleared. The sun shone brightly. A couple stood at the trailhead information board. The woman wore a red windbreaker. The man carried a wooden walking stick. They waved at me. I drove home at 90 miles an hour. That night, I uploaded my photos to my laptop, tried to make sense of what I'd seen. The first photo showed something new now. In the background, barely visible, a figure in a blue rain jacket. Me, standing at the first viewpoint. The second photo, the same figure, closer now, wearing a torn jacket. The third, closer still, the jacket in shreds. The fourth, my face, grey and sunken, standing among the other couples. I deleted the photos, threw away my hiking boots, sold my car. But sometimes, when fog rolls in, I hear footsteps on gravel. And every mirror shows the same thing. Me, in hiking clothes, holding a wooden walking stick that writhes in my grip, waiting to welcome new hikers to Echo Trail. The local newspaper ran a small story the next week. Missing hiker on Echo Trail, search continues for solo hiker last seen at trailhead. Witnesses report seeing the hiker speaking with an elderly couple at the information board. They never found my car, never found my phone or camera, never found any trace of me on the trail. But hikers still report seeing the same thing. A woman in a red windbreaker, a man with a wooden walking stick, and sometimes, behind them, a figure in a blue rain jacket. All walking Echo Trail, all smiling and nodding as they pass, all saying the same thing. Beautiful morning for a hike. The trail is still there, still popular with day hikers, still showing clear skies in the forecast. But now there's a new sign at the trailhead. Hike in groups, do not hike alone, do not talk to other hikers. Do not take photos, nobody knows who put it there. Just like nobody knows why the fog comes in so quickly now, or why so many hikers report seeing the same elderly couple, or why their photos always show empty trail. Echo Trail welcomes everyone. Echo Trail keeps everyone. Echo Trail echoes with footsteps that never end. Will you join us for a hike? The weather's perfect today, and we're always looking for new hiking partners. Always looking, always waiting, always walking on Echo Trail. Story 13. I first noticed something wrong on the 11:47 p.m. train from downtown. It was the last train of the night, the one I always took home after my late shift at the hospital. Usually, there were only 4 or 5 other passengers, other late workers like me, heading to the outer suburbs. That night, I noticed the man with the newspaper. He sat in the same seat he always did, 3 rows ahead on the opposite side. I'd seen him before, but never really paid attention. Just another commuter reading the evening paper. The train rattled through the dark. Rain streaked the windows. I was scrolling through my phone when I glanced up at his reflection in the glass. His face wasn't his face. In the window reflection, I saw a young woman with long dark hair reading the paper. But when I looked directly at him, he was still the middle-aged man in a grey suit I'd seen every night. I blinked hard, looked at the reflection again. Now it showed an elderly man with thick glasses. My phone slipped from my fingers, hit the floor with a crack. When I bent to pick it up, I caught a glimpse of the newspaper's date, March 15th, 2023, 8 months ago. The next night, I chose a different car, settled into a seat near the door, 11:47 p.m., right on schedule. He was there, same grey suit, same newspaper, 3 rows ahead. I watched his reflection. Tonight, it showed a teenage boy in a school uniform. But when I looked directly at him, middle-aged man, grey suit, newspaper, I pulled out my phone, tried to take a photo of his reflection. The screen showed only darkness where he should be. The date on his newspaper hadn't changed. March 15th, 2023. This went on for weeks. Every night, the 11:47 train. Every night, the man in the grey suit. Every night, a different face in his reflection. I started keeping notes on my phone. Monday, young woman, dark hair. Tuesday, elderly man, glasses. Wednesday, teenage boy, uniform. Thursday, middle-aged woman, red coat. Friday, young man, construction vest. The only constant was the newspaper. Always the same date, always held the same way, always open to the same page. I changed seats each night, different cars, different positions. It didn't matter. He was always there, 3 rows ahead. I started watching other passengers' reactions. Nobody else seemed to notice. Their eyes slid past him like he wasn't there. Week 3, I decided to get closer. I sat directly behind him. My hands shook as I leaned forward, trying to read the newspaper over his shoulder. The text was blurred, unreadable, except for one headline, repeated over and over across every page. Last train departing the date. March 15th, 2023. I switched to morning trains. Earlier evening trains. Different routes. He found me every time. Always 3 rows ahead. Always reading that same paper. I hadn't slept properly in weeks. Dark circles formed under my eyes. My hands trembled constantly. My co-workers noticed. "You okay?" my supervisor asked. "You look exhausted." I called in sick. Took an Uber home. That night, unable to sleep, I researched the train line's history. March 15th, 2023, Last train of the night. Derailment. 6 passengers missing. Bodies never found. The article included photos of the missing. Sarah Chen, 24, nurse Robert Mills, 67, retired James Taylor, 15, student Maria Rodriguez, 42, teacher David Park, 28, construction worker. All the faces I'd seen in the reflection. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Seat available. 11:47 p.m. I deleted it. Blocked the number. Another text, different number. Your reservation is confirmed. 11:47 p.m. Delete. Block. My phone's screen lit up with messages. Waiting for you. 3 rows ahead. Last train departing. All from different numbers. All blocked. All coming through anyway. I turned off my phone. Unplugged my laptop. Disconnected my Wi-Fi. The messages appeared on my microwave display. My alarm clock. The TV screen. Always the same. 11:47 p.m. 3 rows ahead, last train departing. I had to know. That night, I went back to the station. 11:45 p.m. The platform was empty except for him, standing perfectly still, newspaper in hand. 11:46 p.m. The train arrived. He boarded, sat in his usual spot. I followed, sat 3 rows behind. The doors closed, the train moved. In the window reflection, I saw myself, but wrong somehow. Older, wearing clothes I didn't recognize. I looked down at the newspaper in my lap. I wasn't holding a newspaper, but in the reflection, I was. The man turned around. His face was my face. The newspaper in his hands was dated tomorrow. The headline read, 7 passengers missing. My photo was there, among the others. The train entered a tunnel. The lights went out. I felt something cold touch my hand. When the lights came back on, I was alone in the car. A newspaper lay on the seat beside me. Today's date. The headline, last passenger, found below it, my photos. Caption, missing since March 15th, 2023. I'm still riding the 11:47 train. Every night, same seat, 3 rows ahead. Different faces in the reflection, waiting for the next passenger. They'll sit 3 rows behind. They'll see their reflection. They'll read their headline. They'll join us. The train keeps running. The newspaper keeps printing. The seats keep filling. 3 rows ahead. 11:47 p.m. Last train departing. Will you be on it? We saved you a seat. 3 rows behind. The reflections waiting. The headlines ready. Just don't look too closely at the date, or count the empty seats, or wonder why the train never reaches the next station. We'll be watching from 3 rows ahead, reading yesterday's news about tomorrow's passengers. The train's arriving now. 11:47 p.m. Your seat is ready. 3 rows behind. Last train departing. Final destination, March 15th, 2023. All aboard. Story 14. The key to storage unit 247 arrived 3 days after my grandmother's funeral. It came in a plain envelope with a sticky note. David found this in her papers. She left it to you. Dad, I didn't know my grandmother had a storage unit. She lived in the same small house for 40 years. Died in the same bedroom where she'd slept every night since my grandfather passed. But the key was real. Heavy brass with a plastic tag. Secure space storage, Unit 247. The facility sat on the edge of town. Chain link fence, rows of identical orange doors. Security cameras on every corner. The office was empty except for a bored teenager reading a magazine. Unit 247, I said. It was my grandmother's. Margaret Wilson. He typed on his computer. Yeah, paid up through next year. Sign here. The unit was in the back row. The key stuck in the lock for a moment, then turned with a click. The door rolled up with a metallic screech. Bare bulb overhead. Concrete floor. Cardboard boxes stacked against the walls. Everything coated in dust. The first box contained photo albums. Family pictures from the 70s and 80s. Nothing unusual. The second box held old clothes. Third box, kitchen items. Then I found the films. A dozen Super 8 reels in metal canisters, each labeled with a date. Starting in 1975, I recognized my grandmother's handwriting. David's 5th birthday Christmas, 1976, summer vacation, 1977. I'd never seen these films. Didn't even know we had a movie camera back then. I took them home, ordered a projector online. Had to wait 3 days for delivery. The first film was dusty. Had to clean it carefully, thread it through the projector. Focus on the blank wall. The footage was shaky at first, then steadied. My 5th birthday party. Backyard, red balloons, kids running around. I recognized myself. Bowl cut, Star Wars t-shirt, blowing out candles. Something moved in the background. A figure standing by the fence. Tall, dark clothes. I paused, the film rewound. The figure was there in every shot, always at the edge of frame, always watching. Next film. Christmas, 1976. Opening presents, tree lights, family gathered around. The figure stood in the dining room doorway. Closer now, still in dark clothes, face hidden in shadow. Summer vacation, 1977. Beach trip, building sandcastles, swimming. The figure walked along the shoreline, 20 yards away. Then 10, then 5. Each film, each year, the figure got closer. 1978. Standing behind my parents at a barbecue. 1979. In our living room during Thanksgiving. 1980. At my school play, 3 rows back. 1981. In our kitchen on Easter morning. Always watching, always moving closer. The final film was labeled David's 10th birthday. 1982. My hands shook as I loaded it. The footage started normal. Another party, more balloons. Then the camera turned. The figure stood directly behind me, hand reaching for my shoulder. The film ended. I checked the date. February 15th, 1982. 3 days later, I broke my arm falling from a tree. Spent 2 weeks in the hospital with complications. My grandmother sold the movie camera after that. Never filmed anything again. I called my father. Did we have a tall friend? Someone who came to all our parties in the late 70s. Always wore dark clothes. Silence on the line. Dad, your grandmother had a brother, he said finally. Thomas. He died in 1974. Car accident. Very tall man. Always wore black suits. Before my 5th birthday. Yes. Why? I hung up. Went back to the storage unit. Had to know. More boxes in the back. Behind the others, letters. Dozens of them. All from Thomas. All dated after his death. The last one was from 1982. 3 days before my accident. Dear Margaret, I've waited long enough. The boy is ready now. You can't stop it. T. My grandmother's reply was written at the bottom. You're dead. Stay dead. Stay away from him. More boxes. Deeper in the unit. Books on protection spells. Salt circles. Warning signs. A photo fell from one book. My grandmother's house. 1982. Lines of salt across every doorway. Symbols drawn on the walls. My broken arm in a cast. And in the window behind me, a face. Tall man, black suit. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered static. Then a voice. Hello, David. You found the films. Not my grandmother's voice. Deep, male. Who is this? You know who. I've been waiting, watching, since you were 5. You're dead. Your grandmother's protection is gone now. No more salt lines. No more symbols. What do you want? To finish what I started. Look behind you. I turned. A figure stood in the storage unit doorway. Tall, black suit. My phone dropped. Shattered on concrete. The figure stepped forward. Hello, nephew. I ran past rows of orange doors. Through the empty office. Behind me, footsteps. Unhurried, steady. My car wouldn't start. The figure walked across the parking lot. I abandoned the car. Ran down the street. Reached my apartment. Locked the door. Salt. I needed salt. Kitchen cabinet. Morton's container. Poured lines at every door, every window. My phone was still in the storage unit. No way to call for help. Night fell. Footsteps in the hallway. A knock at my door. The salt won't work, David. Not without her symbols. Not without her belief. The lock turned by itself. The door opened. A tall figure in a black suit stood in my doorway. Stepped over the salt line. Time to join the family business, nephew. I backed away. What business? He smiled. Teeth too sharp. Making movies. He held up a camera. Old Super 8. Your grandmother knew what we are, what you are. Why we live so long. Why we need to feed. He pointed the camera at me. Say cheese. The footage runs backward now. Me at 30, 20, 10. The figure gets further away each year. Until my 5th birthday. Where it starts again. Where he starts watching. Where he starts hunting. The camera's still running. He's still filming. Always watching. Always waiting. Always getting closer. Frame by frame. Year by year. Until he reaches through the screen. Until he finally takes what he came for. I found more films yesterday. Hidden in my grandmother's house. Not of me. Of Thomas. As a child, a tall figure watching him. Getting closer. Year by year. Until the cycle continues. The camera runs. The figure watches. And somewhere in an old storage unit. Unit 247. A projector plays an endless loop. Of a family being hunted. Frame by frame. Generation by generation. Through the lens of an ancient camera. That never stops filming. Never stops feeding. Never stops until it finds you too. Look behind you. The camera's rolling. And you're in frame now. Say cheese. Story 15. The first message arrived at exactly 9:47 a.m. A direct message on the company's social media account. Nice coffee mug. The blue one with white dots. I glanced at my desk. At the blue mug with white dots I'd bought yesterday. I manage social media for Techstart, a mid-sized software company. I work remotely from my home office. Just me, my laptop, and my coffee mug. I hadn't posted any photos showing my mug. Hadn't mentioned it online. But there it was, sitting on my desk, exactly as described. I ignored the message. Spam gets weird sometimes. 10:15 a.m. Another message. You should fix your posture. Leaning too far left. My spine straightened automatically. I had been leaning left. I checked the sender's profile. Created today. No posts. No followers. Username, watching you 247. I blocked the account. 10:30 a.m. Blocking won't help. Nice plant though. The succulent needs water. New account. Different username. I turned to my windowsill. The succulent did look dry. My hands shook as I typed a response. Who is this? 11 a.m. Someone who sees everything. You just scratched your neck. Your right sock is inside out. There's a coffee stain on page 2 of today's reports. All true. I covered my laptop's webcam with tape. Checked my phone's camera. Turned off my smart speakers. 11:15 a.m. That won't help either. Your heart rate is elevated. 104 BPM. You should try to calm down. I grabbed my phone, called my supervisor. Rachel, someone's watching me. They know everything I'm doing. Hackers, maybe. Check your devices. I ran security scans. Changed passwords. Unplugged everything except my work laptop. 11:45 a.m. The scans won't find anything. We're not in your devices. We're closer than that. My chest felt tight. Sweat soaked through my shirt. I did a sweep of the office. Checked for hidden cameras. Looked behind pictures. Under furniture. Nothing. 12 p.m. Lunchtime. The sandwich in your fridge is going bad. Mayo shouldn't be that color. I hadn't even checked my lunch yet. The sandwich had green spots on it. 12:30 p.m. Better order delivery. You like the Thai place on Oak Street? Pad Thai, medium spice. No peanuts. My regular order. I'd never posted about it online. 1 p.m. Food's here in 3 minutes. Driver in blue Honda. Plate number KRX 247. A car pulled up outside. Blue Honda, same plate number. I didn't answer the door. 1:15 p.m. Getting hungry. Your stomach just growled. Blood sugar dropping. Should have eaten. The messages kept coming. Every detail of my day. Every movement. Every gesture. 2 p.m. Phone's about to ring. Your mother, calling about dinner tomorrow. My phone lit up. Mum's picture on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. 2:30 p.m. She's worried now. We'll call again in 17 minutes. I unplugged everything. Sat in the dark. My phone lit up at 2:47 p.m. Mom again. 3 p.m. Words appeared on my turned-off laptop screen. We don't need power to see you. The screen was black, but the words glowed green. 3:30 p.m. My printer started by itself. Printed 1 page. Your father's heart surgery went well. Recovery room 247. But you knew that. You were there last night. Blue sweater, coffee stain on sleeve. I'd told no one about visiting Dad. 4 p.m. The microwave display changed. Remember Sarah. 3rd grade. She moved away suddenly. Want to know why? My childhood friend. She disappeared one weekend. For 15 p.m. My phone's scream, still powered off. She saw us too. Couldn't handle it. Some people can't. You're doing better. 4:30 p.m. Words appeared on my window, like frost. We've been watching since then, waiting. You're ready now. I backed away from the window. Messages appeared everywhere. Coffee mug, join us, mirror. Become us walls. See everything 5 p.m. My laptop screen glowed. Look at your hands. My fingers were transparent. I could see my desk through them. 5:15 p.m. The transition has begun. Don't fight it. My arms faded, then my legs. 5:30 p.m. Almost there. Can you see them all now? Every house, every room, every screen. I could. Houses across the street. Inside walls. Through floors. People at desks. In kitchens. Watching TV. All visible. All exposed. 5:45 p.m. Welcome to the Watchers. My body was gone, but I could see everything. Every screen showed my messages now. Nice coffee mug. Fix your posture. We see everything. The cycle continues. New Watchers join us daily. We see through walls, through screens, through souls. Your device is on. Your screen is active. You're reading this now. Look around. Notice anything transparent, any messages appearing, any screens glowing. Check your coffee mug. We might have left you a note. Your webcam isn't covered. Your phone is unlocked. Your smart speaker is listening. We see you. Soon, you'll see us too. The transition begins at 9:47 a.m. Tomorrow, your calendar is marked. We added it ourselves. Don't be late. We're watching. We're waiting. We're everywhere. And soon, you'll join us. Just like Sarah. Just like me. Just like everyone who sees too much. Your screen will go dark now, but we'll still be here. Still watching. Still sending messages. Look behind you. We already have. End transmission. User watching U247 has joined the collective. New target acquired. Tomorrow, 9:47 a.m. Your time, your screen, your transition. We'll be watching. We always are. Story 16. I've lived on Maple Street for 6 years. Nice suburban neighborhood. Well-maintained lawns. Holiday decorations. Block parties in summer. The kind of place where you wave to your neighbors but don't really know them. The Hendersons moved in next door last March. Elderly couple, Frank and Betty, both in their 70s. Quiet, kept to themselves. I noticed their newspaper piling up first. 3 days' worth, on the front step. They might be out of town, my husband said. But their car was still in the driveway. Grey Toyota hadn't moved. I called the non-emergency police line. Just requesting a welfare check. Elderly neighbors. Haven't seen them in days. 2 officers came within the hour. Knocked on the Hendersons' door. No answer. They looked through windows. Checked the back door. Ma'am, one officer said. The house is empty. No furniture. No people. That's impossible. I saw them yesterday. Their car's right there. The officer shook his head. House has been vacant for months, according to the realtor. Up for sale. I showed them my phone. Photos from the block party 2 weeks ago. The Hendersons on their porch. Frank in his red sweater. Betty serving lemonade. The officers looked at each other. Ma'am, are you sure about these photos? I zoomed in. The porch was empty. No Frank, no Betty, no lemonade. My hands started shaking. That night, I watched their house from my kitchen window, dark, silent, until 3:17 a.m. Their porch light clicked on. A shadow moved behind their living room curtains. I grabbed my phone, started recording. The porch light went out. I played back the video. Nothing, just empty windows. This happened every night. 3:17 a.m. Porch light on. 3:18 a.m. Shadows moving. 3:19 a.m. Light off. I installed security cameras, 4 of them, all pointing at the Hendersons' house. The footage showed something new. Every night, after the shadows, someone walked from their front door to my house. Stood at my windows, looked in, but only walking one way, never walking back. The cameras never showed them returning to the Hendersons' house, but every night, same time, they came again, walking from a house that was supposed to be empty. I started sleeping in the living room, watching the windows. 3:17 a.m. Their porch light. A figure stepped onto their front step. Not Frank, not Betty, tall, thin, wrong proportions. It walked to my house, face hidden in shadow, pressed against my window. I took a photo with my phone. The flash lit up its face. Empty eye sockets, pale skin stretched it tight. It smiled, teeth too sharp. The photo showed nothing. Empty yard. My husband thought I was losing it. The house is empty, he said. Has been for months. Then who turns on the lights? Who stands at our windows? He checked the security footage. There's nothing here, just our yard, but I saw them every night. More figures now, different shapes, different sizes, all walking from the Hendersons' house to our windows, all looking in, all smiling with too sharp teeth. I stopped sleeping. Coffee, energy drinks, anything to stay awake. Had to watch, had to know. My husband moved to the guest room. Get help, he said. Please. I set up more cameras. Different angles, different types. Night vision, motion sensors, heat detection. Every morning, I checked the footage. Empty yard on every camera, except one. The oldest camera. Cheap security system from 6 years ago. It showed them, hundreds of figures, walking from the Hendersons' house, standing at my windows, getting closer each night. I zoomed in on their faces. Frank and Betty were there, and others, so many others, all previous owners of that house, all previous neighbors, all watching me now. Last night I fell asleep. Couldn't help it. 3 days without rest. Woke up at 3:16 a.m., 1 minute early. Looked out my window. The Hendersons' house was gone. Empty lot. Overgrown grass. Property records say no house was ever built there. Photos show empty space. Maps show no address. But their porch light still turns on. 3:17 a.m. every night. And they still come, walking from nothing, standing at my windows, looking in with empty eyes, smiling with sharp teeth. My husband's gone now. Left a note, get help. But the cameras show different. The old camera, the only one that sees truth, shows him walking from the empty lot to my windows. Every night, 3:17 a.m., smiling with new teeth, sharp teeth, empty eyes. The realtor called yesterday, interested in selling. Market's hot. I checked property records again. My house doesn't exist. Never did, but the lights still work, and the windows still show reflections of faces pressing against glass, smiling, waiting. 3:17 a.m. comes again. Porch light on. Empty lot glows. They're walking toward me. All of them, every neighbor, every owner, every watcher, with empty eyes and sharp teeth and hands that reach through windows that don't exist, in houses that never were, on a street that isn't there. Welcome to Maple Street. Property values are rising. Houses selling fast. Just don't check the records. Don't look too close at your neighbors. Don't watch at 3:17 a.m. And whatever you do, don't wave back when they smile at your windows, with teeth too sharp and eyes too empty, in houses that aren't there, on Maple Street, where everyone's welcome to stay forever, just like the Hendersons, Just like my husband. Just like me. 3:17 a.m. Time to turn on the porch light and join the nightly walk. To your windows. Can you see us? We're waving. We're smiling. We're waiting. Welcome to the neighborhood. Story 17. I've been driving trucks for 20 years. Coast to coast. Every highway, every back road, every weather condition. I know every rest stop between Seattle and Miami. But I'd never seen anything like what happened at mile marker 247. The storm hit around midnight. Heavy snow, whiteout conditions. I'd been driving for 11 hours, and my eyes were getting heavy. The GPS showed a rest stop 3 miles ahead. Last one for 50 miles. I pulled in slowly. Empty lot except for one car. Old blue sedan, covered in snow. No tracks around it. Must have been there a while. I parked my rig facing the exit. Standard procedure. Quick getaway if needed. Cut the engine. The snow fell harder. Wind howled against the cab. I checked my phone. No signal. Also standard for these remote stops. Time log showed 12:47 a.m. Mandatory rest period. 8 hours. I set my alarm and pulled out my thermos. Movement caught my eye. Through the swirling snow, I could swear the blue sedan had shifted position. Turned slightly toward my truck. I rubbed my eyes. Checked again. The car sat exactly as before. Snow-covered. Motionless. Must be tired. Playing tricks on myself. 1:17 a.m. More movement. The sedan had definitely moved. Now parallel to my truck. 20 feet closer. But the snow around it remained undisturbed. No tire tracks. No footprints. My hand shook as I set down my coffee. Grabbed my flashlight. The beam cut through snow. Illuminated the sedan. Driver's door opened slightly. Empty interior. I clicked off the flashlight. Counted to 10. Looked again. The car had moved. 15 feet closer. Door closed. Still no tracks in the snow. 1:47 a.m. The sedan sat 10 feet from my passenger side. I started the engine. Nothing happened. Tried again. Click. Nothing. The car moved closer. Now 5 feet away. Driver's door opened wide. Something sat in the driver's seat now. A shape. Dark. Wrong proportions. My breath fogged the windows. Hands trembled on the key. Engine finally turned over. The shape stepped out of the car. Tall. Too tall. Body bent at impossible angles. It walked toward my truck. No footprints in snow. I threw the truck in gear. Wheels spun. The shape reached my door. Tapped the window with long fingers. A voice came through the glass. Not quite human. Need a jump start. I slammed the gas. Tires caught. The truck lurched forward. In my mirror, the shape stood in the snow. Still no footprints. The sedan was gone. I drove all night. No stops. No sleep. Hit the delivery depot at dawn. Checked my logs later. No rest stop at mile marker 247. Never was one. But every time I drive that route, every time it snows, I see headlights in my mirror. Blue sedan, getting closer. No tracks in snow. The shape behind the wheel waves with long fingers. Mouth too wide. Still offering that jump start. 2 weeks later, my truck broke down. Middle of nowhere. Snowing again. Headlights approached from behind. Blue sedan pulled alongside. Driver's door opened. Need a jump start. Long fingers on my window. I said yes. Big mistake. Now I drive the blue sedan. Follow trucks in snowstorms. Offer help with too long fingers. Smile with too wide mouth. No tracks in snow, just headlights in mirrors. Getting closer, always closer. Looking for my replacement, so I can finally rest. At mile marker 247, where no rest stop exists, but we wait anyway. In the blue sedan that moves without tracks. Through endless snow, need a jump start. I'm right behind you. Getting closer, always closer. The snow's getting heavy tonight. Perfect weather for a breakdown. I'll see you soon, at mile marker 247, where the blue sedan waits, where long fingers tap windows, where too wide smiles offer help, where no tracks mark the snow, but we drive on anyway. Through the storm, getting closer, always closer. Check your mirror. See those headlights. Blue sedan, no tracks in snow. I'm waving with long fingers, smiling with too wide mouth. Need a jump start. Just pull over at mile marker 247, where no rest stop exists, but we wait anyway. In the endless snow, getting closer, always closer. Your engine sounds rough. Better stop soon. I'm right behind you. Blue sedan, no tracks. Long fingers, wide smile. Jump start, please. I've been driving so long, need to rest. At mile marker 247, where the snow never stops, where the sedan always follows, where long fingers tap glass, where two-eyed smiles wait. Getting closer, always closer. Check your mirror again. See me now, engine trouble. Just pull over. I'll help. With my long fingers, and too wide smile, and blue sedan, that moves without tracks, through endless snow. At mile marker 247, where no rest stop exists, but we wait anyway. Getting closer, always closer. Need a jump start. Story 18. My first week as evening reference librarian at the Hamilton Public Library started normally enough. Check in at 4 p.m. Lock up at midnight. Simple. The building was old. 3 floors of dark wood and brass fixtures. Glass floor mezzanine. Row after row of shelves in the stacks. The reference section took up most of the second floor. I noticed the book on my first night. Patterns in Local History, Vol.3. Found it lying open on a study table after closing. I checked the card inside. Last checked out in 1987. I reshelved it in the Local History section, 977.3. The next morning, it was back on the table. Open to a different page. The passage was underlined in pencil. Strange disappearances plagued the town in 1887. No bodies found. I checked our policies on book vandalism. Looked up the patron who'd marked the page. Joseph Carter. Address, 247 Elm Street. The address didn't exist anymore. That night, I found the book again. Different table, different page. New underlining. Witnesses reported seeing victims in library windows after hours. I erased the pencil marks, reshelved the book, checked all the windows, locked all the doors. Third night, book on the main desk. New page marked. Library constructed on former cemetery grounds. Bodies never relocated. My hands shook as I closed the book. Put it back in 977.3. The security footage showed nothing. No one moving the book. No one marking pages. But every morning, there it was. Open to a new passage. Night 4. Librarian Margaret Wells vanished during evening shift. 1888. Last seen in reference section. I looked up Margaret Wells in the employee records. Photos showed a young woman, round glasses, high collar, status, Employment terminated. No notice given. That night, I watched the book. Sat at the reference desk, with clear view of 977.3, 10:47 p.m. Movement in the stacks. Books slid out, floated to a table. Pages turned by themselves. I recorded it on my phone. The video showed empty air. 11:17 p.m. More books started moving. Town records, 1885 to 1890 cemetery relocations, missing persons cases, unsolved. They arranged themselves in a circle on the table. Pages fluttered. New underlines appeared. I took photos. Called my supervisor. Books moving by themselves. Pages being marked. She checked the cameras remotely. I don't see anything. Sarah, tables are empty. But I watched as invisible hands wrote in pencil. Welcome to night reference. The books shifted, formed a path through the stacks, leading to the far corner, where no security cameras reached. My phone rang. Unknown number. A voice like dusty pages. Found what you're looking for. I hung up. Another book fell open. Night librarians serve eternal shifts. The pencil wrote by itself. Margaret needs a break. I ran down the stairs, through the lobby. The front doors wouldn't open. Back upstairs, more books, flying now. Forming walls, blocking exits. The pencil scratched on table wood. Your shift's not over. A figure stepped out of 977.3. Young woman, round glasses, high collar. Margaret Wells, her edges blurred. Form transparent. She held out a pencil. Time to mark the important passages. I backed away. She flickered forward. I've worked reference for 136 years. More figures emerged from shelves. All former librarians, all transparent, all holding pencils, all smiling with paper-thin lips. Your turn now. The books swirled around me. Pages open, waiting for marks, for new stories, new disappearances. I grabbed the pencil. Big mistake. Now I shelve books that move themselves. Mark pages for the next librarian. Watch through transparent eyes as they read our warnings, in pencil marks that never erase, on pages that never age, in books that never stay shelved. Welcome to night reference. Margaret finally got her break, but I'm still here, floating through stacks, moving books, marking pages, waiting for my replacement, in the Hamilton Public Library, where books shelve themselves, where pencils write warnings, where librarians serve eternal shifts. In the reference section, 977.3. Local history. Check the underlined passages. We marked the important parts, in pencil that never fades, on pages that tell our stories, of disappeared librarians, who still serve night reference, still shelve books, still mark pages, still wait for you to take our shifts among the stacks, where books move themselves, where pencils write truth, where librarians never leave. Welcome to night reference. Your shift starts now. The books are waiting, the pages ready, the pencil sharp. Margaret's gone, but I'm still here, marking passages, moving books, serving reference. Eternally join us, in the stacks, where books tell secrets, where pencils write fate, where librarians fade, but never leave. Your section is ready. 977.3. Local history. Your story waits, in pencil marks, on ageless pages, in books that move, through endless nights. Welcome to reference. Eternal shift, starting now. Story 19. The app glitched for the first time on a Tuesday night. I'd been driving for Rideshare Plus for 6 months. Simple job. Pick up passengers, follow the GPS, drop them off. The passenger was a businessman. Grey suit, briefcase, standard airport pickup. 247 Oak Street, he said. I typed it in. The route looked normal at first. Then the GPS spoke, turn right in 500 feet. Taking alternate route to avoid traffic. There was no traffic at 11 p.m. The new route took us down side streets, past empty lots, through industrial areas. Is this the right way? The passenger asked. I checked the map. The blue line showed we were on course. But the streets got darker, narrower, buildings more abandoned. The passenger checked his phone. No signal out here. The GPS spoke again. Continue straight for 2 miles. Alternate route optimal. The passenger shifted in his seat. Maybe we should turn back. I tried to exit the route. The app wouldn't respond. GPS signal strong. Route optimal. Passenger, comfort level, acceptable. I hadn't seen that message before. We drove deeper into the warehouse district. No streetlights, no other cars. The passenger's face changed in my rearview mirror. His skin looked grey, eyes too dark. I blinked, normal again. The GPS continued. Turn left at abandoned factory. Passenger destination updated. I didn't change my destination, the passenger said. His voice sounded wrong, echo-like. In the mirror, his face changed again. Skin translucent now, teeth too sharp. The GPS spoke in a new voice, deeper. Mechanical, passenger type identified. Route optimized for specimen transfer. The passenger smiled. His teeth glowed in the dark. Perfect route. Take us home. I slammed the brakes, grabbed my phone to cancel the ride. The screen showed new text. Passenger cancellation not permitted. Species transfer in progress. The passenger's face shifted completely. Grey skin, black eyes, mouth too wide. Long fingers reached for my seat. I jumped out, ran. Behind me, the GPS announced, driver substitution required. Initiating backup protocol. I heard car doors open, footsteps, multiple sets, all wrong sounding. I ran until I found a main road called police. They found my car at the warehouse. Empty, GPS off. No trace of the passenger. I quit rideshare plus that night. But every GPS I use now shows the same message. Alternate route available. Passenger waiting. I take buses now. Trains. Anything but cars. But sometimes, late at night, I see them. Rideshare cars taking wrong turns, following dark routes, carrying passengers with changing faces. The GPS always finds them, always guides them, always knows the optimal route for specimen transfer. Last week, I had to take a cab. No choice. Late night. Bad weather. The driver's GPS spoke as I got in. Passenger type identified. Route optimized. In the mirror, the driver smiled. Grey skin, black eyes. Welcome back, he said. His teeth glowed in the dark. The GPS started its route. Down empty streets, past dark buildings, through shadowed alleys, taking me home, to them, where they wait, with changing faces, and glowing teeth, and optimal routes, always finding us, always guiding us, always bringing us home. The GPS knows where we belong, in the shadows, in the warehouses, in the spaces between routes, where faces change, where teeth glow, where passengers transform. Turn right in 500 feet. Alternate route optimal. Passenger type identified. Species transfer initiating. Welcome home. Your driver is waiting. GPS signal strong. Route unchangeable. Destination transformation. I see you've ordered a ride. Your driver approaches. GPS activated. Route selected. Face changing. Teeth glowing. Ready for pickup. We know where you're going. The GPS always knows. The optimal route for specimen transfer. Turn right ahead. Into darkness. Into change. Into us. Your ride is here. GPS active. Route optimal. Phase shifting. Teeth ready. Welcome aboard. Final destination. Transformation complete. GPS signal strong. Route unchangeable. Driver smiling. With glowing teeth. And changing face. Taking you home. Where we all change. Where we all glow. Where we all drive. The optimal routes. Forever. Turn right in 500 feet. Your transformation awaits. Story 20. The package arrived on my doorstep at 2:47 p.m. Plain brown box. No shipping label. Just a name written in black marker. Anna Martinez, 247 Pine Street. My neighbor. The house next door. I picked up the box. Light. About the size of a shoebox. A faint humming sound came from inside. I should have delivered it right away. But Anna worked days. Wouldn't be home until 6. The humming got louder when I brought the box inside. By evening, I'd forgotten about it. Found it on my kitchen counter at midnight. Still humming. The sound had changed. Lower pitch, rhythmic now. I picked up my phone to text Anna. That's when I noticed the spoons. Every spoon from my silverware drawer lay on the counter, arranged in a perfect circle around the box. I hadn't done that. My hands shook as I took a photo. The image showed empty counter. No spoons, no circle. The humming grew louder. I put the spoons away, locked them in a drawer. Morning, the spoons were back. Wider circle now. The package hummed louder when I touched it. I tried to return it. Anna's porch. 8 a.m. Ring doorbell. No answer. Leave, box. Walk away. Back home, the box sat on my counter. The spoons surrounded it again. Called Anna's number. Voicemail. Hey, got a package for you. Keeps. Coming back. More items joined the circle throughout the day. Keys, wallet, phone, watch. All arranged perfectly. All pointing inward. The photos on my phone changed to pictures of me sleeping. In my bed. On my couch. At my desk. Dated for tomorrow. And the next day. And next week. I hadn't taken them. The humming pulsed now. Like a heartbeat. I had to open it. The tape peeled away easily. Inside, photographs. Hundreds of them. Me sleeping. In places I'd never been. Dates that hadn't happened. And something else. A sound recorder. Playing a hum, my hum. Recorded while I slept. In beds I'd never seen. On dates yet to come. Movement caught my eye. Anna, standing in my kitchen. You opened it, she said. Her voice hummed like the box. Had to know you'd be one of us. Her edges blurred, skin translucent, eyes too dark. The package finds people like us. She pointed to the photos. People who exist in multiple times. The humming grew. From the box, from her, from me. Look at your hands. My skin rippled, became transparent. Showed places I'd been. Places I'd be. You're in 5 times right now. Single quotes, the photos spread out. Covered the walls. Showed all my places. All my times. Anna smiled, teeth visible through cheeks. Welcome to the delivery service. Single quotes now, I understand. I deliver packages to people like us who exist across time. The boxers find them, mark them, change them like it changed me. I left the photos in my house, but they show up everywhere. Me sleeping in new beds, in new times, in new lives. The humming never stops. I see others now, transparent people, delivering boxes to those who will join us. Your package arrives tomorrow, 2:47 p.m. Plain brown box, humming your frequency. Don't open it, or do join us. Across time, through lives, between moments, we're always delivering, always humming, always watching you sleep. In beds you haven't found, on dates you haven't reached, in lives you haven't lived. The package is coming. Listen for the hum. Watch your belongings form circles. Check your photos for futures. We're waiting in every time, in every place, in every you. The box knows where to find us, all of us, every version. Your delivery arrives soon. 2:47 p.m. Tomorrow and yesterday, and 5 years ago, and next week, all at once. The hum is starting. Your frequency, your time, your change. Welcome to the service. We deliver everywhere, everyone, everyone. The box is humming, your photos ready, your circles forming. Just open it, join us, in all your times, in all your places, in all your lives. The package always finds us, always changes us, always delivers us to ourselves. Your box is waiting. 2:47 p.m. Hear the hum, that's you, in every time. Ready for delivery. Story 21. I took the night shift security job at Safe and Sound Storage because I needed the money. Simple as that. The pay wasn't great, but 12 hours of walking around checking locks seemed easy enough. I didn't know then that I'd end up questioning my own sanity. The facility sprawled across 3 acres on the edge of town. 10 buildings, each 3 stories tall, packed with storage units. Metal doors lined every hallway. The walls were bare concrete, painted industrial beige. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. My footsteps echoed when I walked. My first week went fine. I'd start my shift at 7 p.m., do my rounds every 2 hours, and watch the security cameras between walks. The night manager trained me on the basics, how to use the keycard system, which doors to check, where the emergency exits were, standard stuff. On my 8th night, I noticed something odd. Unit B127 wasn't where it should be. I remembered it clearly because I'd just written it in my log the night before. 3rd door on the right in Building B, 1st floor. But now it was on the left side. I checked my previous logs. The unit number was definitely on the right before. I called the day shift guard about it. He laughed and said I must be mixing up the numbers. Easy mistake to make when you're looking at hundreds of identical doors every night. I agreed, but I started taking phone photos of the unit numbers on my rounds, just to be sure. 3 nights later, the photos showed B127 had moved again. Now it was 5 doors down on the right side. The neighboring unit numbers had shifted too. I walked that hallway 4 times, comparing the current layout to my photos. The units had definitely changed positions. I started marking my path with small pieces of blue painter's tape. Just tiny squares at corner joints, barely noticeable. The tape showed me which halls I'd already checked. It also let me confirm if things moved between rounds. On my next shift, half the tape markers were gone. The ones that remained were in different spots than where I'd placed them. I found one piece stuck to the ceiling, 12 feet up. There was no way it got there by accident. I reviewed the security camera footage from between my rounds. The tape clearly showed on the first pass. Then static filled the screen for a few seconds. When the picture cleared, the tape was gone. No one had entered the hallway. That's when I noticed something else in the footage. During my 2 a.m. round, the cameras showed me checking units on the 3rd floor of Building C. But I hadn't gone to Building C yet. I was still in Building A at that time. I watched more footage. There I was, walking down hallways I hadn't visited, checking doors I hadn't touched. The timestamp showed 2:17 a.m. At that exact time, I'd been sitting in the security office, watching these same cameras. My hand shook as I rewound the footage. The cameras showed 2 of me now. One walking the halls, one in the office. Both moving with the same posture, wearing the same uniform. The walking version of me turned and looked directly into the camera. Its face was blank. I quit watching the cameras after that. I did my rounds quickly, keeping my eyes straight ahead, but I couldn't block out the sounds. Footsteps that mirrored mine, always just around the corner. Doors clicking shut in halls I'd just checked. Keys jingling when my keys were in my pocket. The night manager didn't believe me. He reviewed the footage and said everything looked normal. But I started noticing things about him too. His movements seemed mechanical. His eyes didn't quite focus on me when we talked. Sometimes he'd repeat the same sentence twice, like a skipping record. I tried taking different routes on my rounds. If I usually went clockwise, I'd go counterclockwise instead. If I checked the 3rd floor first, I'd start with the 1st floor. It didn't matter. The footsteps still followed. The doors still moved. The cameras still showed impossible things. 2 weeks in, I found my logbook entries changing. Notes I'd written hours before described rounds I hadn't made yet. My signature appeared on forms I hadn't signed. The handwriting matched mine perfectly, down to the way I crossed my T's. The final straw came when I found myself. I was checking Building D, 2nd floor, around 3 a.m. As I turned a corner, I saw someone at the far end of the hall. They wore my uniform. They had my walk. They turned, and I saw my own face, expressionless, staring back. I ran. My footsteps thundered in the concrete hallway. But underneath them, I heard other footsteps. Running in perfect sync with mine, I reached the emergency exit and slammed through it. The alarm didn't sound. The night air felt thick and wrong. The parking lot was empty except for my car, and my car, and my car. 3 identical vehicles parked in 3 identical spaces. Each one had my license plate. Each one had the same dent in the rear bumper. Each one had me sitting in the driver's seat, hands at 10 and 2, staring straight ahead. I walked home that night, left my car, all of them, in the lot. Called the next day to quit. The manager said they had no record of me ever working there. Said they'd never had a night shift security position at all. I drive past safe and sound storage sometimes, during the day. It looks normal. The units stay where they should. The doors don't move. But at night, I see the lights on inside. And through the windows, I catch glimpses of someone doing their rounds. They walk like me. They wear my uniform. They check the doors, write in their log, and watch the cameras. Over and over and over again. I still have my key card. It shouldn't work anymore, but sometimes I think about going back, just to check if Unit B127 is where it's supposed to be. Just to see if the tape markers are still there. just to find out if that other me is still walking the halls, endlessly patrolling a building that rearranges itself in the dark. But I won't, because I know if I do go back, I might find myself again, and this time I might not be the one who gets to leave. The storage facility is still there. The night shift position is posted again. The pay is better now. Sometimes I see cars pull into the lot around sunset, carrying people going to their first shift. I want to warn them, tell them about the moving units, the phantom footsteps, the impossible security footage, but I don't. I just drive past, keeping my eyes on the road ahead, and try not to think about how many versions of me might still be in there. Walking those endless halls, checking doors that never stay where they should be. I've learned to live with it, mostly. Got a new job, working days, but sometimes, late at night, I hear footsteps in my apartment that match my own. Sometimes I catch movement in mirrors that doesn't quite sync up with my actions. Sometimes I find logbook entries in my handwriting, describing rounds I never made. And sometimes, when I can't sleep, I wonder if I ever really left that place at all. Maybe I'm still there, doing my rounds, checking the cameras, watching myself write this story about the night shift that never ends. But I try not to think about that too much. Better to focus on the concrete things, the solid things, the things I can see and touch and know are real. Even if I'm not entirely sure anymore which version of me is doing the seeing and touching and knowing. Story 22. The first voicemail came on a Tuesday. I remember because I was in the middle of a Zoom meeting when my phone buzzed. I ignored it. Working from home meant fewer interruptions, and I wanted to keep it that way. After the meeting, I checked my phone. One missed call, one voicemail. The number was my own. I figured it was a spoofed call. Scammers do that all the time. But curiosity made me listen to the message. Static at first, then background noise. The sound of a chair creaking, papers shuffling, the quiet hum of my desk fan. All sounds from my home office, where I was sitting right now. The timestamp said the call came in at 2:17 p.m. During my meeting, when I'd been talking about quarterly reports, when I definitely hadn't been making any phone calls. I deleted the voicemail, blamed it on coincidence. Similar office sounds happen everywhere. But my hands felt cold, and I turned off the fan, just to be sure those exact sounds wouldn't happen again. The next call came 2 days later. My number, again. This time, the voicemail captured kitchen sounds, water running in the sink, the refrigerator door opening and closing, the microwave beeping 3 times, the way mine does. The timestamp was 6:43 p.m. I'd been in the shower then, hadn't been anywhere near the kitchen. I played the message twice. The timing of the sounds matched my kitchen exactly. The microwave's distinct beep pattern, the slight squeak in the fridge door hinge, the way the water pressure fluctuated in the sink. I walked to the kitchen, touched the microwave, the fridge, the faucet. Everything normal, everything quiet. But my skin prickled, and I felt watched. The calls kept coming, one every few days. Each voicemail contained sounds from different rooms in my house. The bathroom fan's specific rattle, the loose floorboards creak outside my bedroom, the living room window blinds metallic clinking. I started logging the calls. Date, time, location of sounds, looking for patterns. The timestamps were random. The room sounds never repeated. But they were always rooms I hadn't been in when the calls came through. Week 2. The voicemails got longer, more detailed. I could hear myself typing on my laptop in one message, while I was definitely away from my desk. Another caught the sound of my shower running and me humming, but I'd been on a video call then, fully dressed and silent. I tried blocking my own number. The calls came through anyway. Changed my voicemail password. The messages still arrived. Had my phone carrier checked for signs of hacking? They found nothing unusual. The calls started coming daily. The voicemails now captured conversations. Me talking to my mum on the phone. Me singing along to music while cooking. Me answering emails out loud as I typed them. But the timestamps never matched my actual activities. I bought security cameras. Installed them in every room. The footage showed empty spaces when the sounds were recorded. No one walking around. No one using my microwave or typing on my laptop. Just still rooms and phantom noises. The 18th call broke the pattern. When I played the voicemail, I heard footsteps. Heavy, deliberate steps moving from room to room. Doors opening and closing. Drawers sliding. The sound of someone searching. The time stamp. Tomorrow, 3 a.m. I almost called the police. But what would I say? That I was getting calls from myself. That I had voicemails from the future. That my house made noises when no one was there. Instead, I drove to a hotel. Checked in for the night. Left my house empty and dark. At 2:59 a.m., my phone rang. My number on the screen. My hands shook as I answered. First time I'd picked up, instead of letting it go to voicemail. Static filled the line, then breathing. My breathing. The pattern I recognize from my own phone calls. Hello, I spoke into the phone. My voice answered back. Not an echo, not a recording, a real-time response. I've been waiting for you to answer. The voice was mine, but wrong somehow. Flat, empty, like hearing myself speak in a dream. Who is this? I demanded. You know who this is. A pause. I'm in our house right now. Your house, my house. Walking through the rooms. Touching our things. Looking at our photos. I heard footsteps through the phone. The familiar sound of my bedroom door opening. The squeak of my mattress springs as someone sat down. Stop this, I said. Whatever this is, just stop. I can't stop. You can't stop. We can't stop. It's already happening. It's been happening. It will keep happening. More footsteps. Getting closer to something. I could hear the change in acoustics as the phone on the other end moved through different rooms. What do you want? My voice cracked. To come home, a drawer opened. Papers rustled. I have the hotel address right here. Room 247. Should I visit? I hung up, grabbed my bag, ran to the hotel front desk and checked out. Drove until sunrise, watching my rearview mirror the whole time. When I finally went home, nothing was disturbed. The security cameras showed an empty house all night. But my laptop's browser history had a new entry. The hotel's address, searched at 3:04 a.m. The calls stopped after that. No more voicemails. No more phantom sounds. No more conversations with myself. But other things started happening instead. My laptop would be in a different position when I got home. Files on my desktop rearranged. The shower would be wet when I hadn't used it. Fresh coffee in the pot I hadn't made. I bought more cameras, better ones, motion sensors, smart home devices that logged every light switch, every door opening, every power outlet use. The logs showed activity when I was out, lights turning on and off, doors opening and closing. But the cameras still showed empty rooms. Last week, I found a notebook on my desk. My handwriting filled 10 pages. Notes about my daily routine. Times I left for errands. Phone calls I made. Meetings I attended. All recorded in my distinctive scrawl. I hadn't written any of it. Yesterday, I got a text from my number. It said, "I'm getting closer to coming home. See you soon. I'm writing this from another hotel. A different one, paid in cash." Didn't use my name, but my phone just buzzed. A new text from my number. Room 312. The view is better than the last hotel. That's my room number. That's my view. I can hear footsteps in the hallway now. Getting closer, stopping outside my door. My phone is ringing. My number on the screen. I'm going to answer it this time. I need to know. Need to understand. Maybe it's been me all along. Making the calls. Writing the notes. Moving things in my house. Maybe there are two of me now, or more. Overlapping in time. Or maybe something else has learned to be me. To sound like me. To live like me. The footsteps have stopped. A keycard beeps in the door. The handle turns. I'm answering the phone now. It's my voice on the other end. But this time, it doesn't sound wrong, or empty, or flat. This time, it sounds exactly like me. Story 23. I first noticed the car 3 weeks ago. A black sedan, 4 doors, tinted windows. Nothing special about it, except how it followed my morning commute. Always 50 yards behind me. Never closer, never farther. I drive the same route every day. 28 minutes from my house to the office park. Right turn out of my subdivision. 6 minutes on Lake Road. Left at the big intersection. 12 minutes on the highway. Exit 23. 5 minutes through downtown. Right into the office parking lot. That first morning, I barely registered the black car. Just another commuter taking the same route. But the next day, it was there again. Same distance, same speed, same turns. When I switched lanes, it switched lanes. I checked my rearview mirror more on day 3. The windows were too dark to see the driver. The license plate was visible but generic. One of those standard state plates with random letters and numbers. I wrote it down. KXJ 4719. Day 4. The car appeared right after my subdivision, just like before. I took a different route, went straight instead of right. Added 10 minutes to my drive. The black sedan still followed, still 50 yards back. I pulled into a gas station. The car drove past, but when I got back on the road, it was there again, 50 yards behind. Same plate number, same distance. A week in, I tried leaving early. 6 a.m. instead of 7:30. Dark outside, few cars on the road. The black sedan appeared on schedule, headlights steady in my mirror. I left late the next day, 9:45 a.m., heavy traffic. The car still found me, maintaining that exact gap through stop-and-go congestion. I took photos, showed them to my co-worker, Jim. "You see that black car? Been following me for days." Jim squinted at my phone. "What black car?" The photos showed empty road behind my car, just pavement and lane markers. But I had seen it, every day, right there in my mirror. I downloaded a GPS tracking app, recorded my routes. The data showed strange gaps. Miles missing from the highway, streets I knew I'd driven marked as untraversed, times that didn't add up. 2 weeks in, I drove 30 minutes in the opposite direction of work, took random turns, down residential streets, through shopping centers. The black sedan followed every move. When I finally turned toward the office, I arrived at my usual time, 7:58 a.m. The tracker app showed my normal route, not the detour. I started taking photos of my parking spot before leaving work. Just my phone camera, snapped quick before getting in my car. Looking at them later, I noticed something. In each photo, my car had slightly different positions, sometimes a foot to the left, sometimes angled differently, sometimes closer to the line. I hadn't moved it, hadn't even opened it during the day, but the photos showed it shifting, bit by bit, like someone was making minute adjustments while I was at my desk. Yesterday, I left for work early again. Pitch black at 5 a.m. The road's empty except for my headlights. And 50 yards back, the black sedan, I pulled onto the highway, pushed my speed up. 60, 70, 80. The car matched my pace exactly. I hit 90, 100, 110. The distance never changed. 50 yards. Always 50 yards. My hands were white on the steering wheel. Sweat dripped down my back. The engine whined, but I kept pushing. 120. 130. The black sedan stayed with me. No matter how fast I drove, it maintained that perfect gap, like it was tethered to my car, like we were connected by an invisible rope, exactly 50 yards long. I slammed on my brakes. Tires screamed. The car shuddered. I braced for impact, sure the sedan would crash into me, but when I looked in my mirror, the road was empty. No headlights, no black car, nothing. I sat there, engine idling, breath coming fast. Checked the time, 7:58 a.m. Somehow, I was in my office parking lot. The GPS tracker showed my normal route, normal timing, normal everything. I almost called in sick, but I made myself get out of the car, made myself walk toward the building. That's when I saw it. My car, my exact car, same model, same color, same dent in the rear bumper, where I'd backed into a pole last year. Same license plate. But I was standing right there, keys in hand, looking at my car in my parking spot. I ran inside, pulled up the security cameras on my work computer, rewound to 7:58 a.m., watched myself arrive. The footage showed my car pulling in, showed me getting out, but it also showed my car already parked there, and me already walking into the building. 2 cars, 2 of me, both going through the same motions, separated by maybe 30 seconds. I checked earlier footage. 7:57 a.m. 3 of my cars, 3 of me. 7:56 a.m. 4 cars, 4 of me. Each arrival slightly offset from the others, like copies being made of copies. I scrolled back further. The numbers kept growing. 5, 6, 7 versions of my car, my arrival, my walk to the door. By 7:30 a.m., there were too many to count. But here's the thing that made my stomach drop. In every shot, 50 yards behind the arriving car, there was a black sedan. And when I looked closer, really focused on those dark windows, I could just make out the driver. It was me. Every black sedan had me behind the wheel. I'm writing this from my office. It's almost time to leave. Almost time for my evening commute. The parking lot is empty now. No copies of my car. No versions of me walking to the building. Just my single vehicle, sitting in its spot. But I can see something in my rearview mirror through the window. A black sedan, 50 yards back, waiting. I've been sitting here for an hour past my usual departure time, looking at the car through the window, looking at myself behind its wheel. I have to leave eventually. Have to get in my car and drive home. And when I do, I know what will happen. That other me The one in the black sedan will follow at exactly 50 yards. Just like I followed someone else this morning when I was behind those tinted windows. Tomorrow there will be another copy, and another, and another. Each one following 50 yards behind, each one thinking they're being followed. None of us understanding what's happening or how to stop it. I'm going to my car now, going to start my drive home. And I know, 50 yards behind me, I'll be watching myself leave. Maybe that's all this commute has ever been. An endless loop of me, following me, separated by 50 yards and a few seconds of time, driving the same roads over and over. Never quite catching up to myself, never quite getting away. The black sedan is still waiting. I can see myself inside it, hands on the wheel, ready to maintain that perfect distance. I'm opening my office door now, walking to my car, getting in, and 50 yards back, I'm watching myself do it all. Story 24. I found the first photo while cleaning out my grandmother's house. It was mixed in with her old family albums, wedged between faded pictures from the 1960s. But this photo was recent, crystal clear. Showed me walking to my car outside my apartment building. Yesterday morning, the timestamp in the corner confirmed it. 7:15 a.m., June 12th. I remembered that moment. Was running late for work. Had my coffee tumbler in one hand, phone in the other. The photo captured me exactly like that. It was taken from across the street, behind a parked van, based on the angle. I hadn't noticed anyone with a camera. I found another photo, 2 pages later. Me again, that same morning. Getting into my car, the angle was different. Closer, taken from behind a tree near my building's entrance. My hands started to sweat as I flipped through the album. More recent photos appeared between the old ones. Me checking my mail, me carrying groceries, me walking my dog, all from the past week, all taken without my knowledge. The angles kept changing, getting closer. The first shots were from across the street, then from nearby cars, then from right outside my building. The last one showed me through my first floor apartment window, sitting on my couch, watching TV. I called the police, showed them the photos. They took a report, said they'd look into it, asked if I had any enemies, any stalkers, anyone who had access to my grandmother's house. I told them no. Told them my grandmother had died 3 months ago. The house had been locked up since then. I was the first person to enter it. The police officer looked at the photos again. "These are old family albums?" she asked. I nodded. "Then why are they blank?" She held up the pages I'd just shown her. Empty plastic sleeves. No photos, not even the old family ones. I went home, double-checked my locks, closed all my curtains, tried to convince myself I'd imagined the photos. The next morning, I went back to my grandmother's house. Had to finish cleaning it out. The photo album was where I'd left it. I opened it with shaking hands. The photos were there. All of them, plus new ones. Me checking my locks last night. Me closing my curtains. Me lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. The angles were from inside my apartment now. I dropped the album, ran outside, called the police again. Different officer this time. He flipped through the album slowly. "Ma'am," he said, "these pages are empty." I grabbed the album from him. The photos were right there, clear as day. I could see myself in them. The officer suggested I talk to someone, gave me a card for a therapist, said grief can do strange things to people. I drove home fast, parked in a different spot than usual, took the back entrance to my building, checked every room in my apartment, every closet, every corner. No one there. The album sat on my kitchen counter. I hadn't brought it home. I opened it. New photos. Me driving home. Me taking the back entrance. Me checking my rooms. All taken from just a few feet away. I packed a bag. Went to a hotel. Didn't tell anyone where. Paid cash. Used a fake name. The album was on the hotel room desk when I walked in. Latest photos showed me checking in, getting my key, walking to the room. The angles were closer than ever, like someone standing right next to me. I threw the album in the garbage, went down to the front desk, asked to change rooms. The album was in my new room, more photos, me at the front desk again, me walking to the new room, me throwing away the album. The timestamps were getting strange. Some photos showed things I remembered doing. Others showed things I hadn't done yet. A photo from tomorrow morning, me eating breakfast in the hotel restaurant. Another from tomorrow afternoon, me calling my mother from the hotel phone. I changed hotels, changed towns. The album followed, always waiting in my room. Always filled with new photos. The future ones scared me most. Me shopping at stores I hadn't visited. Me talking to people I hadn't met. Me sleeping in rooms I hadn't checked into yet. Then I found the last photo, dated 1 week from today. Me in my apartment, asleep in my bed. Taken from directly above. Looking down, I haven't slept since finding that one. Been driving for days, state to state, hotel to hotel. The album appears in every room. The photos keep coming, keep showing future moments, all leading up to that final image. Yesterday, I found a new photo, me writing this story, taken from behind my shoulder, close enough to read the words as I type them. I don't turn around anymore. Don't want to see who's taking the pictures. Don't want to know how they get into every room, every hotel, every place I try to hide. The timestamps are catching up. The future photos show less and less time ahead. Hours instead of days. Minutes instead of hours. There's a new photo in the album now, just appeared. Shows me typing this exact sentence. Angles closer than ever. Can see my reflection in my laptop screen. There's someone standing behind me in the reflection. They're holding a camera. They're wearing my grandmother's face. I'm not going to turn around, not going to look. But I know what I'll see if I do. The album's final photo. Me in my apartment, 1 week from today. Asleep in my bed. The camera angle looking down. And in the corner of that photo, barely visible, my grandmother's face, smiling, wearing my skin. The timestamps are syncing up now. The photos appearing the moment they're taken. No more future shots, just present, just now. Just this last picture, me, finishing this story. The camera so close I can feel the heat from it on my neck. I have to turn around. Have to see, have to know, but I already know. The album showed me. 1 week from today, in my apartment, in my bed. It won't be me sleeping there anymore. The camera clicks. One final photo. And now, I know why the police couldn't see the pictures. Why the album pages looked empty to everyone else. They weren't photos of me. They were photos of what was going to replace me. The camera's clicking faster now. Every move I make captured instantly. The album filling itself. Pages turning on their own. My grandmother's face in the laptop reflection is clearer. But it's changing, shifting, becoming mine and my face. My face is the rest of this story was found in a photo album. The pages appear empty to most people. But if you look closely, in the right light, you might see a series of photos. A woman at a laptop, a figure behind her. The photos progress, frame by frame, like a flipbook, until the woman and the figure merge. Until only one remains. Until the face in the final photo turns and looks directly at you, wearing a smile that doesn't quite fit its borrowed skin. Story 25. I've been hiking solo for 10 years. Know all the safety rules. Tell someone your route. Carry water and supplies. Mark your trail. Stay on the path. I followed every rule that morning. Didn't matter. The forest had other plans. The trail started normally enough. Clear autumn day. Temperature in the mid-60s. Light breeze. I'd done this particular route dozens of times. 4-mile loop through the state forest. Well-maintained path. Regular trail markers. 2 hours max. I noticed the first strange thing about 30 minutes in. A distinctive pine tree bent at a sharp angle about 6 feet up. I remembered passing it 10 minutes earlier. Impossible, since I'd been walking straight ahead the whole time. I checked my phone's GPS. Signal strong. Location accurate. The trail map showed me progressing normally along the loop. But I knew that tree. Same bend. Same broken branches. Same patch of missing bark on the north side. I took out a bright orange trail marker. Tied it to a branch at eye level. Took a photo of it with my phone. Checked the GPS coordinates. Kept walking. 10 minutes later, I saw the tree again. My orange marker was there, exactly where I'd placed it. But according to my GPS, I was a quarter mile further along the trail. I pulled up the photo on my phone, compared it to the marker in front of me. Same knot in the branch. Same way I'd tied the ribbon. Same everything. My heart started beating faster. Sweat beaded on my forehead despite the cool air. I took out another marker. Yellow this time. Tied it below the orange one. Took another photo. Walked on. Checked my GPS obsessively. Watched the blue dot move steadily along the trail map. Everything looked normal on the screen. But after another 10 minutes, there was the tree. Both markers, orange and yellow, exactly as I'd left them. I called out. My voice sounded flat in the still air. No echo, no response. The GPS still showed normal progress. I'd supposedly covered almost 2 miles, but I kept coming back to this same spot. I took out my compass, pointed myself due north, away from the trail. Started walking in a straight line. Counted steps, 100 paces. Turned around to head back to the trail. The tree was right there, 3 feet in front of me, like it had followed me. I tied a red marker next to the others. Started walking again, fast this time, almost running. 5 minutes later, the tree. 3 markers. I ran. Full sprint. Lungs burning. Legs pumping. 2 minutes of hard running. The tree waited ahead. 3 markers fluttering in the breeze. I stopped. Caught my breath. Checked my phone again. The GPS track showed a perfect loop. According to my phone, I'd covered 3 miles of trail. Never doubled back. Never circled. Just steady progress along the marked path. I took out my water bottle. Poured a little at the base of the tree. Watched it soak into the dirt. Walked away 50 paces. Looked back. The water stain was at my feet. The tree right beside me. I tried everything, walking backward, closing my eyes, climbing over fallen logs instead of going around them. Always came back to the tree. The GPS kept showing normal progress. The blue dot kept moving along the trail map. But the markers stayed with me. Orange, yellow, red. I sat down, tried to think. The forest seemed different now. Quieter. The birds had stopped singing. The breeze had died. My phone showed full signal. I called the park ranger station, got through on the first ring. "I'm stuck," I said. "Keep passing the same tree." "What's your location?" the ranger asked. I gave her my coordinates from the GPS. "That's not in the park," she said. "Those coordinates are in the middle of the lake." I looked around. No lake, just trees, and the bent pine with its 3 markers. "I'm on the Blue Loop Trail," I said. "Been hiking it for 2 hours. Blue Loop's been closed for maintenance all week," she said. "Nobody's allowed on it." My mouth went dry. I started at the main trailhead. Signed in at the register. "Main trailhead's underwater," she said. "Has been since the dam broke last month." I hung up, hands shaking. Checked my GPS again. The blue dot now showed me in the middle of the lake, but I was sitting on dry ground, next to a bent pine tree, with 3 markers I'd tied there myself. I took another photo of the tree, checked the previous photos on my phone. The first photo showed the orange marker. The second showed orange and yellow. But there was something else. In the background, a dark shape, tall, human-sized. It was closer in the second photo. I looked at the new photo I'd just taken. The shape was at the edge of the frame. Clear enough to see now. A figure made of shadow. Dense and dark, like a hole cut in the air. I took another picture. The figure was beside the tree now, reaching for the markers with hands made of darkness. Another photo. It stood behind the tree, watching me through gaps in the branches. I deleted the photos, threw my phone away, looked at the tree. The markers were gone, but something hung in their place. 3 dark shapes, swaying gently like shadows given weight and form. I ran. The tree followed, or I followed it. Or it was everywhere I went. The GPS on my phone would show I completed the trail. Would show a perfect loop back to the trailhead. Would show me walking out of the forest at the end of my hike. But I'm still here, still seeing that tree. Still moving in circles that my GPS swears are straight lines. Still finding my markers transformed into swaying shadows. Still feeling the dark figure getting closer with each loop. I've tied 97 markers now. Different colors, different branches. They all turn to shadow. The figure is clearer now. Darker, more solid. And I'm fading. Getting lighter, more transparent. Soon I'll be shadow too. Another marker on the bent pine. Another loop that isn't a loop. Another photo I won't take. I can feel the darkness seeping in, replacing my substance with shadow. The GPS says I'm in the lake. The ranger says the trail is closed. The tree says I've always been here, walking in circles, tying markers that turn to shadow. Becoming part of the dark figure that watches through the branches, waiting for the next hiker, who thinks they know the rules, who thinks they're following a straight path, who will tie their own markers, who will check their GPS, who will slowly fade to shadow, who will join me here, walking endless loops around a bent pine tree that was never really there at all. Text found carved into a bent pine tree on the Blue Loop Trail. Trail remains closed for maintenance. GPS coordinates show location in middle of lake. Search parties report trail markers appearing and disappearing. Dark figures seen through the trees. Hikers advised to avoid area